They're the only kind of granola bar that makes me want to have them. Hi, everybody. That's where I'm starting out.
Oh,
granola bars.
We're on now.
We're on
now.
now.
Taking
God.
live viewer calls and your opinions on granola
No,
bars.
please no. Yes, call in so I can disagree with your opinions.
And Damien says hi too.
Call
Damien
in so
is
I can
also
tell
here.
Momo that their
What
opinions
is
are
it,
bad.
Damien? You want to be up on my lap? No, we're doing Discussing Tabletop. So yeah, welcome to Discussing Tabletop. It is, of course, April 17th, 2021. I've got my special guest, and I've got a Damien on my lap, which is another special guest.
Meow, meow.
Yep.
She was like, I have to be here. Meow, 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 meow. So we got some topics that we're going to talk about. We're going to hit up some news first with the new D&D Unearthed Arcana Draconic options. I want to talk a little bit about Pathfinder, Dragon Ball Z, Fist of the Ruby Phoenix, some Fragged Empire stuff out by Modiphius, and then Grease Lightning because it's silly. Grease Lightning. I like to call it Grease Lightning, which it's not. It's Grease Lightning.
Grease lightning would be funnier.
It would, well, anyway. Then we're going to dive into our deeper discussion topic, and of course the kind of regular segments that we normally have here. And one of them is going to be related to a little bit of what we're talking about here, but Draconic options came out from Wizards as one of their Unearthed Arcanas.
The biggest of pogs.
The two dragon people would say in this call. Mm-hmm.
I know not of what you speak.
So,
I think for the most part, it's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yep, I agree.
It introduced two different types of Dragonborns, chromatic and metallic, splitting them up and giving them slightly different abilities. And it also introduced the Gem Dragonborn.
Gem. They're bringing Gem back.
They're bringing Gem back, which have kind of psychic abilities, and a new version of Kobold, along with a couple of feats. And, as I don't hiccup a little bit, a couple of spells. Well, actually, a decent number of spells. Like half a dozen, does it look like here? Yeah, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spells. It's a bunch. I will continue to argue my case of the stupidity of the basically homogenization of stuff when it comes to the basics of the character abilities with types, ability scores, and languages, but that is not why we're here. That is an entirely different issue.
It's also UA. So...
Yeah.
Yes.
I mean, they've changed things. Like when they went to Tasha's, if you can actually see, like if you're looking at a list, because I was looking at Artificer stuff, showing the UA versions and then the Tasha's versions. And some of them were like slightly rebalanced and stuff, so they did change them a little bit. It wasn't just a direct copy and paste.
So we could talk about each of these kind of individually a little bit. Like the chromatic, you get your breath weapon. It does 2d8, so they increase the damage. You can use it more often rather than just once per, was it short rest or long rest
tied
before?
to your proficiency.
Tied to your proficiency.
I think it was long rest.
Yeah, that wasn't a lot of
per long rest.
That's bad. And then you get resistance, and then at third level for 10 minutes you can give yourself immunity to that damage type.
Which is pretty good.
Metallic keeps the breath weapon, I believe, the same, but it gives you a second breath weapon that you get at third level.
You get an extra breath, I believe, and you can also add an additional thing to it. I don't know if the additional things are really balanced, because it's pushed and knocked prone.
That feels a little strong.
Or incapacitating them.
Yeah.
Which, I'm going to talk about 2nd edition Monster Manual, because, oh boy, were dragons a lot stronger.
Yep.
And in 2nd edition, metallic dragons actually had 2 different breath weapons. So I kind of see where they're coming from this, but they're also not pulling from that book, so it's kind of, I would prefer that they tied it to the actual type you were. I believe there was one of them had sleep gas breath. And I'd rather see them give you a secondary once a day breath, which is based off the classic D&D. I'm not going to pull the book out and read directly from it because it's a nightmare to read.
Yes.
Well, that's kind of what this does already. It gives you a second breath weapon that you can only use once per day, and then you choose between those 2 abilities. Granted, apparently they've lost some of them, but it is still the core of what you just described.
I would agree on that one. It keeps a little bit of it, and using it once per long rest, I think, is the limiting factor to a degree here, but it is also still those.
You get an extra one with metallic.
Yeah, you get an
because
extra
it's tied
breath.
to your proficiency, and then you get another one at third. So you actually have at third level you'd have 3 breath attacks as a metallic, where a chromatic only has 2.
Granted,
they're all tied to proficiency.
the immunity is not bad though either. Like if you're immune to fire for 10 minutes, that's better than half damage.
Yeah. Like I'm in the camp that I think metallic and chromatic are fine. I think they're pretty good. Yeah, metallic feels a little strong, but not really too much game breaking wise to me, at least.
Hold up here for a second, because I think there's been a misunderstanding with the way this is worded. It's not that you get a second breath attack so much. It is a second option one. The metallic breath weapon is just flat out, you get to use this once per day.
Yeah. That's what we mean.
That's
like,
all it is.
You still have your normal weapons, so it is like. Well, I think what was being said was rather than, it's still an extra one overall. Like at third level you would have 3 breath attacks.
It is, but it isn't
2.
tied to the proficiency mod like Lightning said.
Oh yeah.
This is you only ever get one use of the metallic breath weapon per long rest.
Yeah. Okay.
Mhm.
Yeah, you get a specific metallic breath weapon which does the weird thing, and
That's
then
why-
you have
and
the other 2 as well.
The effects of it are strong, sure. Like each creature must succeed strength saving throw, push 20 feet, and knock prone, or succeed con throw and become incapacitated until your next turn. Those are strong, but again, it is 1 per long rest.
I mean,
And
I gotta. Well, not to interrupt you, but like, okay, go ahead, finish up. Actually,
well, the other limiting part of this is that it is tied to your con mod. If you have a bad con mod, such as a character I'm playing in Lightning's game, the save DC for my breath attacks is 10, because the save DC is 8 plus your con mod, of which I have 0, and your proficiency bonus. So that is against pretty much every creature, they're going to have more than a 50% chance to just ignore it flat out.
Yeah, like the only one I feel is sorry, I just ate spicy food. Strong is the incapacitated one. I think is a little strong, but it's again the DC is for most characters going to be fairly low, and you get it once per long rest.
It is strong, but keep in mind that most monsters tend to have higher con mods.
Yeah, it's fine. In my opinion, it's fine. But both of these are fine to me.
I think the biggest balancing factor in this is, we'll talk about it later, but Momo was running the game on Fridays, and you normally have several encounters per day. And this is going to go into when we start talking about gem dragons, which is actually one of the things. There's something about gem dragons I think is overpowered, and there's something that I think is underpowered. But the things that you have like once per long rest, or 1 minute, or like 10 minutes, most often you're going to use it once in one of your combat encounters, and then you're going to have in a regular kind of D&D setting, you're going to have 2 to 5 more encounters in that day. So it's very limited, so you have to kind of know when to use them.
Yep. I was. Oh, sorry. I just had one quick comment related to balancing a little bit with the chromatic, at least. Imagine you being a red chromatic dragonborn. 10 minutes. I'm gonna go swim in lava. Go swim in lava for 10 minutes. There you go.
How long can you hold your breath? Because you're under lava and you're being crushed. What's
you
the
can
crushing level? You can swim in lava.
You can swim in lava.
You could no. Hold on. There is no crushing. There is no crushing going on with lava. It is. It is viscous, but it is not crushing.
You can't.
Molten rock?
Yes, because it's not rock. It is molten. It is effectively a liquid. It does not crush.
All right, tell me how you swim in lava, and I'll
If you're immune to water, or if you're immune to fire, If you're immune to heat, I should say.
I'm
If you're immune to
gonna
the damaging effects of heat, then you would swim in it the
okay.
same way you'd swim in honey, essentially.
Remember, the reason people float in water is we are more buoyant than water. You would be more buoyant than lava.
Yeah.
Yes, by a fucking mile.
But-
Meaning you will most likely easily float in lava if you were immune to the hot and fire of said lava.
So you're not gonna swim in lava.
No, normal
You could
people
swim
would
in
not.
lava.
Like, red dragons do swim in lava because they can. I'm saying the red dragonborn could be like, I could do it too. It's
Yeah.
silly,
If
but
you
you
are
can do
immune
it.
to the damaging effects of high heat, you could, even us as humans, if we were immune to the heat for some unknown reason, we could swim in lava. There is nothing stopping you.
It's just really hot and burns and melts everything that comes in contact with it most of the time.
Yeah.
And anything that doesn't burn and melt
rip
tends
clothing.
to be yes, rip clothing. Anything that tends to not burn or melt tends to be more dense and therefore sink. Anyway, Momo, you were gonna add something there before we move on to gem dragonborns, or were we moving?
Actually, a good way to put it. If you tried swimming in helium, it ain't gonna fucking work. But you can swim in lava. There we go.
Mm-hmm.
I forgot what I was gonna say. Oh, God. I forgot. The Mimi fire lava swimming distracted me too much. If it comes back to me, I'll bring it up.
Okay, gem dragons. So, interesting thing is they have a very interesting set of damage types that they are resistant to, and that their breath weapons are: force, radiant, psychic, thunder, necrotic. I think that's like a weird point in time where that has it's like a catch-22 of like all of those are unusual damages to have resistances to for your enemies. In the same retrospect, they're probably not going to come up as much as, you know, acid, fire, lightning, cold. So most definitely you're going to be like, you're getting less resistances that are going to proc on you, and less resistance that are proc on your enemies. Okay. You can telepathically communicate with people. And then at third level, you can fly with gems.
Yeah, that one's a little weird.
For 1 minute and once per long rest.
Not weird that like it's strong. Weird that it just sounds weird.
Yes.
Definitely sounds weird, but as I post a big thing for no reason, I actually think that the races that get flight as a like a limited thing should get it at 60, and it should be tied to like half your proficiency modifier, because like I said, this is something you can do once in one encounter, and then you can't use it ever again until you rest.
I would.
So, yeah, and rounding down, right?
If I would allow a gem dragonborn in my game, which I probably won't personally, I would mess with the way the gem plate works.
Why?
Because I'm gonna be honest, my game is a very combat-heavy game, and you wouldn't get to use it that much. So it'd be me making it maybe a little more fun for a player, rather
Keep in
than.
mind, what the player finds fun might be different.
I would obviously ask the player first for messing with their race, but I would change it a little bit, and I've changed things with, like, I've kit bashed races together for players as well. I would suggest or talk with a player about maybe we make this a little bit more fun so you get to use it a little more, rather than for 1 minute and then you don't get to use it for the next 5 encounters.
Which is fair. Like, if you're just making it better, I could see it, but taking it away is the one that
I wouldn't take it.
Because, like,
Take that away.
okay.
I would
Because, like, personally, I could see that being really fun. Most games don't really give you many options for flight.
Yeah, I wouldn't take away the flight option. I just try to make it a little better.
And the thing to remember is that it isn't so much once per encounter. It's just once per long rest. You could use it outside of combat for other purposes. Maybe, I don't know, your party's in a cave somewhere and up on a ledge, and it's a very large room in a cave, all right? Don't question it. There's a ledge up above. Nobody can reach it. Nobody has a grappling hook they can throw up there. Nobody has any ability to spider climb up the wall. Hey, you have a gem dragon in your party. They can activate their gem flight and get up there. And sure, it's, you know, used that once per day, but it's an ability they had, and that it feels good that they could use it. Even though it is, you know, a bit limited in that it's once per long rest, it is still a very cool and fun ability to have.
The way I think I would do it is minutes equal to proficiency mod. So that way, because in my logic, at third level, you get the ability to fly. You're not great with it. You use it more over time, you get a little better with it, like your skills. That's how I would do it personally in my game.
Remind me what levels proficiency goes up at?
You have 2 until I think level 5. I think level 5 gives you 3. I have the book open. I can look at it. You eventually get like 4, but it's not until like level 9 or something. Level 9 is proficiency 4, 13 is 5, and 17 is 6, which is
every 4 levels. It looks like.
You know, in that case, I'd say tying it to proficiency is pretty reasonable.
Because what's it? A level 5 caster can just have fly.
Yeah.
And they can use it for like, is it 10 minutes or something?
Yep, basically, yeah.
I think that's the other part of it. Because Lightning, you were saying that you'd rather have it be 60, but I can see the reason they kept it as equal to your walking speed. It's to limit it a bit. Because like there aren't a whole lot of ways to get flight. So then just having access to this one.
Yeah.
If you're a mage, basically everyone gets fly.
Well, more a druid eventually can wild shape to something that can fly too.
Yeah.
The other part of it that plays in that I feel like we sometimes skip over is that not everybody power games their builds. A lot of people do. A lot of people do, but not everyone. Some people just prefer. For example, Dranthier is essentially handicapped in terms of power gaming because I'm refusing to give him any fire spells because it's RP.
Yeah, personal choice.
And not every mage is going to take fly because.
No, they're not. There might not be. They might have other spells that they want depending on their build. Well, I think the thing is, for that little thing there is, 5th edition. It's not impossible power game, but it tends to be a little bit more difficult to really dive into power gaming. Like
you don't have as many options. They're there, but you really kind of have to be like, all right, time to go Galaxy Brain.
Yeah.
And then like I'm gonna take like 2 levels of fighter, and then the sorcerer level, and I'm gonna be this race, and I'm gonna have these for my stat. You can do it. It's just
not easy.
But like of the people I've played, I've seen play. Usually the most fun ones to watch are the ones that aren't just the meta. They're unique ones where like, hey, I'm gonna try this out and take this, and you're looking at like, okay, well that's not efficient. It doesn't matter because they're having fun with it.
I mean, well, that's not really a great way to talk about it because that's just talking about, like, you know, you have to look at this as, like, anybody can make a character is one of those things. Like, it doesn't matter if you're power gaming or not power gaming. And I understand that you do want to definitely have it just fun either way. Because even, like, honestly speaking, even the person that's power gaming wants to have fun. Yeah. You know? It's just that they have, like, they like the power trip aspect of the game. Which I feel like this is like a different argument entirely. 5th edition does that a lot better than some of the other editions. Certainly, you feel more powerful to begin with in 5th edition than certainly Pathfinder as a first level character.
I also do want to say, a lot of my opinions on certain things like balancing, like say for this gem fight, I feel it's a little weak. That's coming from me looking at everything in 5e from a DM perspective rather than a player perspective. That's how I tend to look at these. So that's why I have these weirder opinions, I think.
And see, that's why I'm balancing factor here. I don't look at this from DM side. I'm looking at this from player side.
Yeah, you want to be
I'm
cool.
sitting in a call with 3 DMs.
Yeah.
Yeah. Lightning. Now you said you saw some good things that you thought were too powerful and some things that weren't powerful.
Oh.
Sounds like you think that the gem flight was the not very powerful part. You know.
Yeah. My reason why that, and this applies to like Aasimar and other things like that, is it's a very very limited fly, right? And you know, if you're playing a sorcerer or whatever, you get it for 10 minutes. I think I literally went and pulled it up. Artificer, sorcerer, warlock, and wizard. They all have access to fly. It's a 3rd level spell, so that's 5th level caster. You get flying speed of 60 feet. Even if you fall, you can kind of float. Lasts up to 10 minutes. It is concentration, so it's dangerous in that regard, which makes the racial flights a little bit better because they're not concentration, but they are, whatever, not half. They're 10% at the time.
Mm-hmm.
But the thing with the fly is like it uses up a spell slot, and then you can just use another spell slot. But because it's part of your race, I feel like things that are tied to your race need to scale with your character, because you could technically like cast spells at a higher level as you level up, or you have more spell slots. Like if you're just not even casting at higher level spell slots, eventually a sorcerer or wizard or whoever can cast fly 4 times a day without using any little recovery stuff. So they could have fly for 4 encounters, where they also have double the speed. Where if you're playing a race that has the flight, that's a special ability and not just innate flight, it's kind of, okay, you can fly once. You can either fly out of combat to do something, and then you just can never fly again. So having it scale in some way, which is why I would probably tie it to half proficiency rounded down, because eventually you'll get 3 per day. You won't get a lot extra until later, because the way proficiency works, it's not going to be until level like 9 or something when you get 2, but that's double the amount. So I think that's okay.
Where did you see the
My
gem
biggest thing
dragons?
that I have with gem dragonborns is that they gave psychic damage to emeralds.
Okay.
Because there's like 4 creatures, maybe 2 that have resistance to psychic damage, and I think mind flayers are one of them.
Okay.
But it's funny too, because in my homebrew world, I have gem dragons. No one's encountered them yet, but I have like basically stats for them. And it's funny because looking at what they tied the damages to, every single one of them is what I thought of myself for my world before this even came out. I think I made it like a year ago maybe. And the only one that's different is Emerald with Psychic. I gave Emerald Thunder. So it was Force for Amethyst, Radiant for Crystal, because they have a light damage. So what's light? I guess Radiant?
Yeah, Radiant.
I don't remember what Emerald does, but I give them Thunder. And then Topaz and Necrotic, because I think it actually describes it as like sucking the life out of things. So I was surprised that I was close to what Wizards was on, but I don't agree with psychic damage.
Question. Are there any things that resist force damage?
I don't think so, which kind of makes Amethyst really strong as well. I have to look that up, though, because I know Force and Psychic are the strongest.
Because wouldn't an Amethyst also make you not effectively immune, but nearly immune to magic missiles?
It give you resistance to magic missiles for sure.
Which is very strong.
Yeah, because there's not a lot of force spells, I don't think, either.
I honestly don't think these are overpowered. They're strong. Yes, they are strong, but I don't think they're overpowered. Again, this is tied to your proficiency bonus for how many times you can use this breath weapon. It's a 2d8, sure, but again, it's balanced against the fact that they have gem flight. Whereas you look at the metallic dragons and they have, the metallic breath weapon. You look at the chromatics, they have chromatic warding where they can just make themselves immune to the damage type associated with them. Which, those damage types come up far more often. Acid, lightning, poison, fire, cold. The gems got gem flight. And again, I already professed that I like gem flight, but I will admit it is not as strong as the metallic breath weapon or the chromatic warding. So them having a force or a psychic breath weapon, I don't really have a problem with, because again, it is what's your proficiency bonus? That's the max times you can use per day. And even then, going back to what I said earlier with the metallic breath weapon's downside, it is tied to the DC being 8 plus your con mod plus your proficiency bonus. It really does not get that high of a DC, especially if you compare it to DCs that wizards and sorcerers spells get.
I mean, it's the same. It's just your con is casting modifier. So if you had
I
20
think it's
con,
I think it's that most people do not focus con. It would be a lot better for your barbarians and your fighters that are going to have more of a con focus.
If Jess's character was one of these, she would have an insanely high DC because she has max con.
Sure, but
Also,
it's a rare
Helm's
case.
Horror.
Most people do not go and say my con is going to be my highest stat.
Most
Most of the time, it's like strength, dex, int.
It's
charisma.
pretty common for barbarians to pick con as their highest stat.
High, but not even with barbarians. Not always as their highest stat, because most people tend to go, all right, well, I'd rather make sure I can hit things more good.
I can see barbarians going con or strength. Like that's the thing is, but I also see them more likely going strength, just with the nature of like wanting to hit things.
And even then, that is one class
The only
that is going to reliably have the high con to make the breath weapon reliably good.
The only one of these I have a problem with is force, just because force is.
only the Helm Horror is immune, and nothing has resistance to force, apparently.
That's why I have an issue with force.
Well, again, as I said, it's strong, but it isn't overpowered. Because for most classes that will be using this, their con mod isn't going to be that outrageously high. The DC isn't going to be that high. And keep in mind, a large majority of monsters tend to have good con mods.
It's an interesting thing.
Yep.
I think we should talk about kobolds and the rest of the stuff in here.
I don't like any kobolds at all. I really don't.
I think the only thing I don't like about them is the Draconic Roar. I think that's the only thing that doesn't really fit.
Yeah.
I would also give them sunlight sensitivity because they're kobolds.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't like it too bad.
I don't remember the original kobold to compare it against.
I could grab Volvo's kobold real fast.
They have pack tactics, I think, which they
Yeah.
have an ally within 5 feet.
Kobolds have grovel, cower, and beg.
Yeah.
Pack tactics and sunlight sensitivity. That's what is missing from this.
I do think Draconic Roar should have been grovel and beg, because that
Grovel and beg is so fun.
it is legitimately a good ability.
Yeah, it's
thematic and it's funny.
It's like actually really good.
It is legitimately really good, and it fits better than kobolds going, I'm this tiny little thing, but let me go roar.
For those watching, the wording on it is: as an action on your turn, you can cower pathetically to distract nearby foes. Until the end of your next turn, your allies gain advantage on attack rolls against enemies within 10 feet of you that can see you. It's very funny and it's very good.
It's like, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me, please don't hurt me. It's like, I don't wanna. Oh God, your friends are hurting me.
I don't understand.
No, her deacon.
But Draconic Roar I don't think fits them at all.
It doesn't at all.
No, I agree on that one. Unless I'm reading it kind of here. This is the way they do it. It doesn't. They're trying to make.
I could see it being an alternate ability. If you had,
like an option,
rather than a standard kobold, I don't know. Maybe you were the favored kobold of some dragon somewhere. Keep in mind, different settings exist. Maybe you're a favored kobold. You're larger, you're stronger, you're tougher than the other kobolds. Maybe you're closer to a dragonborn than a kobold, really, but you're still a kobold. Like, I could see it being an alternate.
Yeah,
I would personally give it as a feat.
Yeah, I agree with it. Like,
Yeah,
there's kobolds that are more draconic. Like they have like winged kobolds and stuff, and ones that like live up to a draconic heritage. I see them, which are like the leaders of the kobolds, maybe having draconic roar, while like the normal ones would not.
Yeah, the winged kobolds having this, I could totally see.
You know what? Yeah. I'm gonna just posit something here. Hey, wizards, make more sub races for things. Just do that.
Yes, sub races, options.
Going back
I think
to
the Draconic Legacy is fine though, because when I first read it, I thought it was like you just get these. I'm like, wow, that's really strong, but you pick one.
Yeah, Draconic Legacy is pretty fine.
Yeah, I'm okay with it.
Mm-hmm.
Especially because it does give options, like the unarmed strikes. That could be good for if you have a fighter kobold. The cantrip. I mean, anybody really can make use of that, to be honest. The advantage on saving throws to avoid or end frightened condition. That's a little. I'd personally say it's a little weak because that isn't a condition that comes up all that often.
Depending on my
It's a
campaign.
race, though.
Situational.
Like,
I'll use this as an example. In my game, which is a dark horror-ish game, that would come up a lot. In most games, it's not going to. It's incredibly situational.
like if someone be like, because usually you want like a summary of the campaign, like a little bits of it. Like this is gonna be like usually a DM's good enough to be like, yeah, hey, like there's gonna be like a very like horror, undead focused, dark fantasy kind of focused thing, And when you hear that, you're like, maybe I want to take that, frightened option from my kobold character rather than the cantrip, which I was considering, just because it would give me a little bonus. The cantrip can give me a bonus too, but that's kind of like a balancing act of like, that might be neat. They can like he's a brave little kobold, and you can kind of add a story element to that rather than just I can like freaking fire blast somebody.
He's the brave little kobold.
I think I've only been frightened one time in all the D&D 5e I've played, and it was because it was some kind of horror scarecrow. I don't think we get frightened in Carrion Crown.
We did.
Oh no, I think I did from the mummy. Did the mummy fear me?
No, the poltergeist frightened us, and we had to like spend our movement to run away from it.
Yeah,
Oh,
that, again,
it comes
one
up like
time.
twice.
And
Yeah.
see, my main issue with this is that the biggest issue I have with Pathfinder, even though I routinely say it's the overabundance of options, it's really not that. It's that so much of the options you have in Pathfinder are heavily situational.
Yep.
Which 90% of the time makes 90% of them absolutely useless. And that is my biggest complaint with Pathfinder. You have this list of hundreds and hundreds of feats, and most of them are useless 90% of the time. I'd rather see this, rather than being so situational, expanded a bit to make it more than just your DM more than just having your DM tell you, hey, this campaign's gonna be horror themed. Oh, that's the one time I'd take this. I'm gonna take it. Expand it a bit. Make it so that it is an option more of the time rather than just when you're in a horror setting. Have it be, I don't know, advantage on saving throws to avoid mental conditions or something. Just more than literally just frightened.
Make it once a day advantage on wisdom saves.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah.
'Cause then it's like anything that affects your mind, right?
That would make more sense to me. Yeah.
How many wisdom saves are there? What you guys as DMs have a better idea of this. What situations would you call for
Wisdom saves
save?
are against anything that's mind affecting.
Any non-charm ability. Charm
Yeah.
abilities are the only ones that are unique because they're charisma.
Charm or charisma in 5e.
And I think there's very few intelligence-based saves. there are a few of them, like...
I think some psychic ones are intelligent based.
Yeah.
Yeah, but they're
A lot of the
much
psychic
rarer.
ones are intelligent.
Yeah.
Well,
There's
for
like
the sake
4.
of my tired brain and any viewers who might not have a good idea of it, what situations would you call for wisdom save?
All right.
Mind.
Like bestowing a curse.
Okay.
Let's see here. Off the top of my head.
Fear is the obvious
most
one.
illusion-based things.
Command.
Are wisdom. Command, yeah.
See, that's a pretty good list already. I think that.
I think suggestion is will.
Suggestion is a wisdom.
We have suggestion is a wisdom.
Yeah.
It's like charm person and dominates, which are the charisma ones, because you're
Yeah.
directly influencing your will rather than just being like, hey, could you do this?
See,
It's,
with that short list you guys made off the top of your heads in 5 seconds, that already makes this ability far better, having it be advantage on will saves.
Mhm.
mm-hmm.
That's why it makes sense that it's frightened, but it is definitely weaker, right? So
Yeah.
changing it to be like
Yeah.
and limiting it, because like right now, as it is, it's unlimited. You always have advantage to avoid or end frightened, which is good if frightened comes up a lot. If you make it a general thing for anything that's wisdom, then you make it like once per day or once per half proficiency modifier. Because
Yeah.
I don't know why I'm on that kick right now, but then it
'Cause, like-
then it scales up as you get stronger and more powerful.
As is, this trait, or whatever you want to call it, is going to be one of two things. It's either going to be useless or obscenely overpowered.
Yeah.
For example, 90% of games, this will be useless, because frightened almost never comes up. Momo's game, it would potentially be overpowered, because you just go, alright, well, that's a frightened save, I pass it, I pass it, I pass
Yeah.
it, constantly.
Or if you fail, when your turn comes back up, you can repeat the save,
Yeah.
and you have advantage.
So that's my big issue with this. It is so limited, and it is only ever going to be useless or insanely strong.
Yeah.
Yep.
Because we don't want to delay too much. The feats. I think they're fine. Anybody could take them. They're
Yeah.
feats. I never know how to balance a feat in 5th edition, which is a discussion for a little bit more.
Yeah. I think the gift of the metallic dragon is a little weak in my opinion, but I can see arguments for it being someone considering it strong. But to me, I would look at that and be like, why would I take this and not something like Magic Initiative?
Because not power gaming.
If
Me
you were a
personally,
fighter,
I would take that in a heartbeat.
The reason I don't like it is because it's one spell and it's tying Cure Wounds to metallic dragons.
Yeah.
That's the biggest
Yeah.
thing. That's not a very RP flavor.
That's not a very RP flavor. I will agree on that one. I don't feel like Metallic Dragons and Cure Wounds fits very well.
No, I think they get heal spells, but I think Red Dragon, or not Red Dragon, but Chromatic Dragons, I'm pretty sure they can get heals too. So the fact that it's like, oh, Metallic Dragons are the healing and protecting ones, I don't like that. I think the feat as it isn't awful, but it's definitely not great. It gives you Cure Wounds, it gives you the protection.
The protection
like,
ability is kind of neat. I think that's
Like,
fine, I guess. I don't know.
It's all right.
It's not awesome. It does tie to your proficiency. A number of times is proficiency, so you can use it more than once.
Like,
but it is limited.
the Chromatic, I like. You know, extra damage on some stuff,
Chromatic one
protect
is
yourself.
fine.
Even the gem one, where it's like, you gain a mental thing because they're mental based, and then you got like that little psychic thing, you know, that you can, I guess, emanate a creature that hits you back damage, I think it is, right? Yeah.
I mean, like
It's
we're all
force damage though, so it's kind of strong in that regard.
we're also like assuming feats have to be strong. There's some really garbage feats that exist.
Well,
There are.
They're way worse than these ones.
Yes.
again, the gem one is strong, but it's also tied to your reaction.
Yeah.
If you use this, you can't take any other reaction.
Yep,
Yeah, but depending on what a class you're playing, reaction barely comes up.
that's true. Again, that it becomes situational then how powerful it is, which is an unfortunate thing, which is not great to judge a power level of something very well when it's situational.
Use this as an example. It'd be really not great for rolling because I have to constantly consider using my reactions to catch shit.
Oh, for a monk, it's awful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
For a fighter, because you can take reactions to attack people, or if you are doing Sentinel, it would be bad.
It would also be pretty bad for my artificer. 'Cause I have reaction spells.
Yeah.
Marty has the reaction to avoid something that comes into melee range.
Yep. For rogues, it wouldn't be super
Yeah,
great.
you are the strongest tank in 5e.
Mm-hmm.
Unironically, rogues are the strongest tanks in 5e.
Yeah.
Marty also the most innocent among all of us.
Uh huh. Uh-huh.
I can
there's some
sort of see what
spells.
you're saying with the cure wounds, but like personally, I don't see it that way as it being tied to good. I just see it more as tied to the chromatic, the eternal fight between chromatics and metallics.
Like-
It to me, it's less of a good versus evil thing. It's just look, these guys, they fight these guys.
I gotta be honest, and this is something that's from someone that knows, at least from 2nd edition to 4th edition, and has used and looked at dragons. No self-respecting metallic dragon would have the ability to cast a Cure Wounds. Maybe up until now. None metallics. Because you know what? All dragons got effective levels of sorcerer. That's all they did. They ever did.
Fair.
I think it was just spell casting back in 2nd edition. But like 3rd edition, 3.5, they're effectively this level sorcerer. I think 4th edition did something a little similar. Like they gave them like kind of like spell casting abilities to a degree. I'd have to break them down because that's a complex a can of worms we're not going to deal with right now. But like, if they're changing it a little bit in this edition, okay, that may be like, I think something that like was unique to gold dragons is that they had an option of taking from a couple of cleric domain lists that were like, you know, some divine spells as sorcerer spells. It was unique to the golds because the golds are supposed to be the holier than thou, you know, super good dragons. They're the lawful good ones. You know, a lot of the others, like freaking, I think it's Copper, who are chaotic good. They're good, but they're trickster dicks. They would never heal anybody. They are assholes. They don't do anything that will hurt you, but it will piss you off because they find it funny. You know?
Yeah, they're the best boys.
But they
That's
would
why I think
never
Cure Wounds
have
is-
it.
Yeah.
If this wasn't a feat that was called Gift of Metallic Dragons, and it was just like Battle Master Healer Boy. There'd be nothing wrong with it. Absolutely nothing wrong with it.
I mean, my game now, Battle Master Healer Boy.
At the same time, you could also reflavor it. Like, personally, I like it. But, like, even ignoring the name thing, the mechanics side of it's not that bad. You get a free Cure Wounds per day. And then additionally, you could cast it with your spell slots. Doesn't matter if you're a warlock or a sorcerer or a wizard, you could just cast it with your spell slots.
I mean, that part of it I think is interesting.
Yeah. And it uses whatever casting mod you choose at the time you get the feat.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't mind it in concept as a feat. I don't like it flavor-wise what they're going for, which is one of those weird things that you can reflavor things. You know,
That's my problem is the flavoring.
And that's the thing.
I would
That's the
change
easiest
something.
thing to change. You could reflavor it in a
I'll
heartbeat.
change the name. Boom. You know how I change this in my game? Boom. Gift of the Archseraph of fucking whatever. There you go.
Sure. And
yeah.
it'd still work with the manifesting protective wings.
or just give it the gold dragon.
It feels much more like a celestial thing to me than a dragon thing.
Yeah, both of them feel
You
much more
mentioned
celestial.
That makes so much more sense.
Yeah.
Again, depends on the setting, though. Personally,
The spells, I don't know enough, like spell-wise, of all spells to like give a good.
I glanced at them.
Here's my opinion on spells. Give artificers more spells. Please.
no.
I'm sat here like
you get nothing.
I'm sat here like, please, sir, can I have another? Can I just have
Hey,
a spell?
You can get Flame Stride.
Look at this peasant wanting more spells.
Yeah,
for
you
the
did
artificer.
get
Point and
flame
laugh.
stride.
Yeah, bonus action, up to a minute of concentration. Your feet burst into flames. You get 20 extra movement speed. Doesn't provide type of opportunities. If you move within 5 feet of a creature, it takes 1d6 fire damage. You can only do this once per turn, and then it scales up if you cast at higher level.
It's a great.
Third level.
A lot of these spells also kind of fit artificer.
But no, you
But
must not have them.
Glance,
Like,
Glance one seems very, very strong.
yeah,
But
that's
Psychic Glance. The thing that I don't understand here is if it's a save or suck. Because it says, you target must succeed on an intelligence saving throw, it's like psychic damage, or take 10d6 psychic damage. That's a psychic fireball.
It
It's
is
not
a
AoE, but... and it becomes incapacitated until the start of your next turn.
To me, it reads as a save or suck.
Yeah,
Because
I would
as
agree.
a
It's save or
fourth
suck.
level spell, it should not be save or suck.
I think.
Counterpoint: 10d6 psychic damage and incapacitated.
I think that's why it's save or. Well, I think fireball's an area effect though too.
Yes, it's a
It
66
is.
or something.
Yeah, I feel like this should be just half damage and not incapacitated because it's a single target.
It should be.
I am looking up Fireball.
They might rebalance it. This is a UA.
Yeah.
Fireball is 8d6,
Yeah.
and that's to anyone within a 20-foot sphere.
But
Yeah.
dex save versus int.
That's
Dex
true.
save is more common than int saves are.
I mean, there's arguments either way for it. I definitely can see.
This one also, if you just know the name of the target, you don't have to see them, and as long as they're within 120 feet, you just be like, Jim. And you get hit like a
Fuck
glance.
you, Jim.
It's like he's like, what? How did you know my
Jim,
claw?
I heard what you said about my wife last Saturday. Psychic lance, motherfucker.
Yeah. So, I mean, that's the only thing I would change is if you make the save, you take half
Jim.
damage, you are not incapacitated.
God damn that Jim.
I could see that being a thing.
Because the thing that really, really sucks is using a leveled spell and having to do absolutely nothing.
Yep.
Now, charming people and stuff, they're kind of non-combat, so if like it does nothing, I can kind of understand. But things that do damage, you could have done a cantrip and done it for free basically, because it's just a cantrip, and had the exact same effect.
Well,
That's
damage.
if you-
yes, but there's no cantrip that's doing 10d6 and incapacitate.
Yeah. I mean,
This is a
I
fourth
understand.
level.
I understand the ability is you could have had a solid damage that you would have gotten with the same kind of roll, either save or attack roll, that you don't have there. You know, it's a how much damage output are you theoretically putting out versus possibly putting out? You know,
That's just at the point of that. You're just going down to
yeah,
looking at numbers and not having
Yeah,
some
it's-
pure dice
I
numbers.
think-
Not as fun.
I don't know.
The other part of it that I don't really like is that its scaling is awful.
Which scaling?
How does it scale?
On this lance,
Oh.
every spell level higher is just 1d6.
That's pretty.
I think that's fine.
Fireball's
well,
like
like,
2d6.
That's
Again,
all it
this
with
is
spell.
Wasn't it?
this is a single target, like
Or
you said.
1d6.
If we're
Might
comparing
have
to
been
fireball, if you cast this as an 8th level spell, you're using a fucking 8th level spell slot, and you've got an additional 3d6 damage.
Let me look at a random 7th level spell that's fire. Here's Delayed Fire Blast. It does 12d6.
AoE.
Yes, 20-foot AoE.
Yeah. I mean, like, I think
it's
that's one
fire.
of those things is, like, targeted versus... They never really do well on delineating between targeted and area as well as they should. And I think that's just an issue.
That's the thing. With Fireball, it going up a d6 per level, I can see. But with this being a single target, I really feel like it should be scaled by 2d6.
But it's also psychic damage.
It
And
is.
Hell save. So.
Yeah, man, I mean, even the greatest barbarian, the bear barbarian, wouldn't be resistant to this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And if they fail, they are also incapacitated, which
Yep.
is pretty awful.
No.
'Cause then you just go over there and beat the crap out of them.
We could probably discuss this all day, but you know what we should really talk about now?
Is,
Pathfinder
uh,
DBZ.
murder?
Next time on Pathfinder DBZ.
I have to go grab food, and I'll be back for this.
Yes.
I'll be honest, for anybody who doesn't know, I woke up literally 5 minutes before this. The one thing I took the time to read was the Draconic Arcana. So,
Okay, so what this is it's the next adventure path from Pathfinder. Boom. It's the Fist of the Ruby Phoenix. It's, long story short, it's a fighting tournament. It's like, a powerful sorcerer named Hao Lin is going to be the grand judge over it. And so people from all over the world are getting there because they have access to his legendary treasure vault if they win. That kind of thing. There's probably more to it than that. The player's guide gives you like a history of the tournament, some details on the Dragon Empires, and I think they give a map of Tianzi, which is the Asian kind of area of the Galarian world in Pathfinder, gives character options, talks about fighting teams, and tournament rules. So, I mean, like, it does level of rules which are probably good to do. I mean, it's the tradition of most Pathfinder adventure paths. They introduce something unusual. This one, which is like fighting tournaments or like, fighting teams for more, rather than just murdering monsters, for more organized combat sports or stuff, or gladiatorial sports. You could probably add these in more areas, And they also have inspiring tables to help you randomly or deliberately choose your team's theme, motivation, strength, weaknesses, quirks, and more. Oh my god, tables. I missed that until now. Oh, I really want these.
Thank God.
You all wear purple or something like that. That could be like your quirk.
More random tables,
I
please.
really, really love random tables.
I mean, I like Dragon Ball. I like Pathfinder. I like gladiatorial combat.
Yeah.
I like this.
It's totally like a freaking like team-based like Dragon Ball fighter. That's probably what it's gonna be. It's gonna be team-based because it'd be like,
See,
it will be. Wait. First, it's less Dragon Ball, and I just realized this now. It's more like the tournament section of like, was it Yu Yu Hakusho? Yeah.
God damn it! You're almost where I was about to go with this. This doesn't feel Dragon Ball to me. This feels like Mortal Kombat.
Yeah, I will reflavor this as Mortal Kombat.
It's Mortal Kombat meets Yu Yu Hakusho.
Like, the powerful sorcerer Hao Jin has returned to the material plane to preside as grand judge over her world-famous fighting competition. I'm sorry, that's Mortal Kombat. That is Mortal Kombat in a nutshell.
Listen, all right. I don't know if Android's in second edition. You can make the
yes, it is now.
T100.
You can make the T100. You've gone back in time to stop it.
Yeah, you could be the Terminator DLC for Mortal Kombat whatever number.
Thank you, I hate it.
Oh my god.
Why do you insist on inflicting psychic damage?
I forgot that Terminator was in one of the Mortal Kombats. That's right.
We don't speak of that.
Hi, Damien. Welcome back yet again. Third time's the charm, eh? On your visits. Yeah. Hi.
See, for me, what I like about this is that it is actually expanding on I'm gonna butcher the pronunciation of this. Tianjia,
Tianzi.
I think.
I think it's supposed
Tianzi.
to be. Yeah.
Okay. I like that it's expanding on that because as far as I'm aware,
More Kitsune, please.
I have a very limited grasp
Let's
of Galarian.
Let's run this and I'll be Kitsune.
They have a little bit here and there. Like one of the adventure paths early on was all about this, like, basically what?
On
It
the
was-
Pathfinder wiki, there's like a decent chunk of information here.
Oh yeah, no, they've at least, I think in first edition they did at least have like one book on the area, which is good because they expanded on most of the major areas in the world. And then like, but again, like it's just one book in comparison to like when you have an adventure set in an area, you develop it a lot
compared
more.
to Who's to Love.
And I think the only other time they had it is there was an adventure path where it was you were taking the land route a la what is it? I'm forgetting it. The trail between like the Middle East and China.
The Silk Road?
The Silk Road. You basically were Silk Roading it to Tianzi.
Yeah, it under the references it just has that, and then the campaign guide. And that's it.
Mm-hmm. But
Compared-
yeah. So those were like really the main areas that it was introduced in. So yeah, another adventure where they can introduce a lot more of it, some more of the cultures and stuff, things like that. I'm not against it.
I like it. Yeah, it gives me more reason to want to try Pathfinder 2e.
I definitely would like to like look at the tournament mechanics. That's something that I'm like interested in because like as much as it doesn't come up a lot, both myself and a few GMs I know have had versions of fighting tournaments in a game, and most of the time you really don't have an idea of how to do it for like a team-based thing as much. It's usually just like, hey, everybody's just joining up. Oh, occasionally, you know, the players might have to fight each other. Oh, well, you know, that happens. While like a team-based fighting tournament idea, but or like some like inspired rules for doing that might be good and kind of interesting. You know,
One of the other things that I found in the comments, apparently the guide implicitly assumes PC will be from Tianzi, which is kind of neat. Not just going, oh, we have this area, but yeah, we're still assuming you're coming from X or other X area. I like that it seems to be focused on this area of Galarian.
Yeah.
That's pretty good. I like that.
I mean, they do say, like, you could be from somewhere else because it's, like, you know, a worldwide thing. But I think it's the idea that the majority of people that are participating are from Tianzi.
Can I be from Alabama?
No.
It's not in Galarian. I
That
think
doesn't exist. I'm
there
sorry,
is
where
a
the
version.
versions
There's
go.
probably something akin to Alabama somewhere in Galarian. You have to be honest in that one.
Probably. Yeah. This is what Ling went to go do when she left Carrion Town.
It's probably like 3 humans and a half orc sitting on a houseboat in a swamp going meow. With like a pet gator downstairs, you know, so it's like a 2-level houseboat. Like, so it's like the bottom level is just like an
That's
open
the
area with
animal
the.
companion?
That's just
That's-
old Bitey, don't you?
that's-
Is there one of them
Yeah.
a ranger?
Yeah.
It's just like so it's like it's the bottom areas where they fish and do like cooking and stuff. And it's like their actual rooms are on like the second level of the houseboat. So it's got like old bodies lying down there. You know, it's like it's missing part of its top jaw for whatever reason, and it just snarls at anybody that visits. I've already made a set of NPCs I want to really use in a game.
This one time, old Bitey took one of my fingers, but I don't mind.
Let's,
you know. He was-
Yeah, there we go. Perfect.
Oh god. And that's how you make memorable characters in an RPG game. You just BS something.
I'm not gonna play old Bitey.
Old Bitey's actually a druid. In wild shape, pretty much.
Nobody's figured it out yet. They just assume
Lizard
that there's this
folk.
No, no.
alligator that.
He is a 12th level druid and therefore has multiple wild shapes and can do it each 12 hours at a time, and so is just the crocodile all the time.
Also a lizard folk.
Yeah. He's lizard folk that transforms into a crocodile. This makes sense.
Old
Look, he
Bitey.
just likes chilling in the water, all right? Don't you insult old Bitey. Old Bitey is a good lad.
Some
It doesn't. It comes up that there's this weird kind of like half man, half alligator things that keep appearing in the swamp, but no one really understands that.
Sometimes this human comes around and tries to like capture it and move it away.
And wrestles him.
Yeah.
They call him the hunter.
And old Bitey takes another one of his fingers.
Fragged Empire. We talk a little bit about that. Like 4 new books were released by this. It's an interesting setting. It's like an idea that like these are 4 non-humanoid races that seek to rebuild society.
Is one of them a kitsune?
It could be. I don't think they've introduced one.
I would be surprised if they did that.
Yeah.
I have no idea what this is, to be honest.
I know a little bit about Fragged Empire.
The features look cool.
You're basically a genetically engineered remnant emerged from the ruins of a genocidal war in space. And, what these books that they kind of introduce are basically putting forth, hey, here's some more options and races and places that you can kind of visit and learn about. It's just expanding upon it. And I think it's a really interesting setting, and that's kind of what I wanted to bring it up, because I think I talked about it with Joe a little bit, because it's what's the best way of describing it? It is more sci-fi, I think.
Is it Starfinder? Grinding Gears? AKA...
Oh, God.
Dark Matter?
I don't know if I would really call it dark matter. You know, that's very, very different.
I just want to know about this book with the cute girl and the cute green alien creature.
Yes.
Very good.
There's also, if you scroll down, there's a like wood elf kind of lady with a bow.
Yeah.
It's pretty cool.
It's got adaptable rule system. Okay, so basics, going back to it, it's apocalyptic sci-fi setting with genetic engineering, exploration, and a little bit of like, spacey travel and kind of stuff, kind of things like that involved in it too. And they have rules for both using just being your basic kind of like rules or tactical miniatures combat rules built into it too. Because again, it's Modifius and they like their tactical miniatures at the same time.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, to be honest, I like these miniatures.
I mean, it's got the perfect character, a guy in a mask.
Mm-hmm.
Need more masked men.
Yeah.
So it's like it's a sci-fi post-apocalyptic where you're all various weird mutant races and kind of stuff, and they introduce a lot of like interesting species that you can kind of play and things like that in different locations.
Page 2 has Turians and Lion Men or Tiger Men. I'm all in.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, oops, all furries again.
Oops, all furries / Turians.
Oops, all.
Garrus's best boy.
Which book has the lion men in it?
Page 2, protagonist archive.
Oh. Yep.
There is
Sounds
a Tiger Man and a Turian. You can't tell me that's not a Turian.
That is actually a Turian.
Let's see here. Yeah, there's like Oni, Tolotl.
I think it's a helmet, but yeah, that is just a Turian.
That's a Turian.
Mm-hmm.
That is no longer a helmet. That is his head. I am now playing Garrus, and I'm sorry, but I will be spending the next 12 hours calibrating.
I do want to play this tree mask person though.
I mean, they have some really cool stuff in it. I think it's like they do a very good job of introducing a lot of stuff that makes it a very interesting world, and it's one of those ones that I think is not probably talked about as much. That I think would, again, like Modifius does a lot of good RPGs, and I'd like giving support to like some of their
little
stuff.
previews looks like they have like world maps and city maps, and I always appreciate maps. I'm a very
maps are good.
Yeah. And it's an interesting idea, like this interesting kind of like a little bit like it feels very sci-fantasy, I guess you could say, with like the nature of like the apocalyptic world with like weird mutants, but yet they've got like kind of a little bit of that, medieval flair to it that gives it maybe a little bit of like a fantasy feel, even though I don't know if it necessarily is fantasy. I don't think it is. And Lady with her little green goop friend is really kind of neat too.
Right? I want to know more about Lady with the Goop Friend.
I mean, in that same book, they have an entire this thing, the Harrow, the Harrow Hive, which is in space. So there's space stuff. And I think Mishpachi might be an entirely another planet. I don't know. Oh, and colony rules, because I think it's a sci-fi that probably it was a genocidal war that kind of led to the destruction of an entire probably space empire. So it's fractured, and everybody was not necessarily sent back completely to medieval, but it's like you're rebuilding from that, and like there's a lot of different races and stuff, and it's a kind of an interesting setting.
Yeah, it seems cool.
It's not a single planet kind of apocalypse setting. I think it's the present.
If someone was like, "Hey, you want to play this?" I'd say sure.
Yeah.
There's a game that I played with Rachel. She was DMing it, and I can't remember. I think it was Tiv, Josh, and I can't remember the name of the setting, but it was like the Seventh World. I keep thinking it's an A. I don't know. I probably have the book somewhere.
Mm-hmm.
But that was basically it was the seventh destruction of Earth. And so it was kind of a lot of the stuff you use for kind of that medieval kind of era, but there was also basically magic items, basically just tech.
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, well, we don't know how it works. And so you had people that were quote unquote mages, but it was just because of either they had like nanomachines in their blood, or they got exposed to some ancient artifact which like gave them like supernatural abilities and stuff. And I can't remember what it was called.
Pretty cool.
But that was an interesting one. We played like 6 games in it, and the only thing I can say about that is the game feels like it wants to be played for a long time, but the way the rules are written, they are very, very like basic, so it feels more like it's better as short adventures. But the way your characters level up and advance feels a lot like D&D. So it's kind of a weird clash between like intent and like rules, I guess.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, if that's something like that, but maybe better written, I'd be for it.
Yeah. We should probably talk about the last major news topic I have before we move into our discussion. Just a little bit on a really funny little game that exists. Grease Lightning.
The name causes me
I
pain.
want to play this.
It's very,
I'm
very
glad
silly
that we
looking.
finally found something that causes Momo pain. This is
Well, yeah, if you haven't figured out that puns cause me pain, I don't know how bad you are paying attention.
So it's a racing board game, a push your luck game, a boat racing board game, and a Greek mythology press your luck boat racing board game. Because it really is
a lot of things.
Yeah.
None shall best my quadrime amongst the seas of Greece.
Yeah, you have 3 dice. They're all d6s. You can roll 2 or roll 3, but because it's like 2 standard dice and like 1 special dice. If you roll lower than one of the other second dice, you only get the special dice one. And it sounds really complicated, but it's not. I don't know. It's silly. It's
Well, it
very
takes 45 minutes to play.
Seems pretty easy to me.
Mm-hmm.
Explaining it without having any visuals, though, breaks my brain.
Well,
I mean,
roll 1
yeah.
dice. Roll
Kinda
your first
how
dice. This is guaranteed.
every board
Roll
game.
your second dice. Now you have an option to roll a 3rd dice. If it's lower than what you rolled on the second one, you lose both of them.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it does have like that. It's the press your luck portion of it, and it's just completing 2 laps around this race course. That's kind of crazy.
Don't get destroyed by the Naga, the Hydra.
Yeah.
This reminds me of a game I played before, where it's like instead of like boat racing, it was you were chariot racing in a Roman arena. And you had to collect coins, or you had, when you went by the starting line, Julius Caesar threw a coin at you.
Mm.
Also, the system was called Numenera. I don't know why I just suddenly remembered it, but that's what it was.
Weird, because Numenera is its own thing as well.
Huh.
It's board game called.
Interesting.
And what's it called?
Yeah, I've heard of
That's
Numenera before.
Numenera. Planescape? Not Planescape. Frig.
Numenera is its own RPG. It's a science
Torment.
fantasy tabletop RPG set in a distant future, originally published in 2013 by Monty Cook. Monty Cook! I don't have anything against you. I just wanted to shake my fist in your direction for random reasons.
Oh, the board game is. I was thinking it was literally called Chariot Race. I think.
Mm.
Real creative name. It's very fun.
Looks cool. Like
Mhm.
play it.
Definitely an interesting one. Possibly try it someday. Would be nice. Curse you, Wikipedia, for linking Monty Cook and Monty Cook games also to Monty Cook. I want to learn about the studio, not the games. Like, what the games they publish. Damn it.
I've gone down the rabbit hole.
I'd have to go to, like,
two
website
computer
or
games that
something.
exist are Planescape Torment and Torment Tides of Numenera.
I've gone down the rabbit hole of there's a lot of chariot racing board games.
And thus,
Yup.
we lost Momo. Forever
The one I was thinking was called Ave Caesar.
to the pounding hooves and spinning wheels of the chariots.
So,
It's very fun.
Dorsal 2?
we should talk about something for a little bit here. We really, really should. We talked about it a little bit. Let's talk about Feats. And especially Feats when it comes to where their origin came from and how they've evolved, and especially 5th edition. So, brief history. The original Feat, as it came into existence, came about in 3rd edition. There were stuff like it kind of in 2nd edition, but they were more like parts of things like kits and stuff that you would qualify for, and it was a lot more complex and difficult to get to, and you earn them along with levels and stuff. You weren't just getting them at a certain point in time in your character. They kind of took some of these abilities in 3rd edition. I'm not even sure why they did. This is a question that, like, do any of you know why?
I don't know much.
Say again, why they what?
Added in Feats to 3rd edition D&D.
I don't really know much about 3rd edition.
I don't remember 2nd edition enough to tell you why, but I imagine it was to separate class abilities so that you could customize your character more.
That
Yeah.
sounds plausible.
If I had to guess, it'd be customization.
So it was a big. It makes sense that they made the customization easier.
From what I've heard of the very early editions, pretty much if you took 2 of the same class, they were pretty identical.
Mm-hmm.
There wasn't a lot of difference between them other than the name you gave them, really.
Yeah, they're pretty similar. I mean, there were some basics differences in some of the ways they did that, but they made it a little easier.
And then Feats just give you more ability to be like, all right, well, this is my character, rather than being, I don't know, good at offense fighting. Maybe they're a very defensive fighter, or maybe a feat helps them specialize into this type of magic, things like that.
Yeah, so like I think the feats were replacing a lot what were before, but as I'm looking at what they were called now, I think there were non-weapon proficiencies before that, like, it made it easier to customize your character. So they were like, we're gonna standardize character customization. Great. 3rd and 3.5 did have feat bloat. Certainly, I'm not gonna argue against that.
You don't say. You mean scrolling through 500 feats is too many feats?
I mean, that's like fun for me, but you know, the normal person.
Well, we've already established that your brain is
not absolutely insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I mean, like, they gave feats to in 4th edition. They, like, I think they made them a little bit more often in 4th edition than they were in 3rd edition. I think they were like every other level rather than every 3 levels, which was what they were in 3rd and 3.5, which is similar to Pathfinder did. Pathfinder did every other level.
Got them at every odd level,
Yeah.
I believe.
Which, yeah, so 4th and Pathfinder are similar that way, that they're like, we'll give you more. You know, I don't know, because I gotta be honest, I know I had them in 4th edition, but, like, I gotta be honest, the only ones I remember that I actually took is the stupid thing is you had to take feats in order to multi-class in 4th edition.
Oh yeah, that was a thing.
It was a thing, and that's what I did, because I was a multi-class warlock sorcerer, technically.
I don't remember anything from my single game of 4th edition, so...
I played till, like, the first tier, in which none of the warlocks, like, because it's like you had, like, a prestige class at, like, 10th level or 11th level or something akin to that you had to choose from, or, like, the character options as they are in 5th edition. You got one then. The specialization. None of the warlock specializations really had it for me. But one that worked really well for me was because I was a charisma-based warlock, was the sorcerer one, which was like a frost sorcerer. So I took that one because I multi-classed with enough feats to do it. I had to like take 2 or 3 feats to do that, which gave me some cool abilities up until then. But then it was really awesome, the sorcerer abilities then, because I'm like, mwahaha, ice powers. and it was cool. But regardless, though, 5th edition took a step back from that, and I think we talked about this a little bit already. That I kind of agree that it's like it's ASI or feats, but it's optional.
I'm of the opinion that you should take the word optional out of it and just have, at this level, pick this or that. Pick your ASI or your feat. I don't think feat, because they're just continuing to add them, and there's going to be plenty more in every book that comes out from now. I think I don't think they should be an optional rule anymore. I think
unless your DM doesn't like feats.
Yeah, that's true. But I like feats. I think feats are very good customization, even the really bad ones.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're good for flavoring how your character develops, or if you're a human, giving you an interesting level 1 background.
Yeah.
Type of deal. But I can see not liking feats. I personally think that it's a little silly that they're optional, given the amount of them that there are.
I think it's one. Go ahead, Umber, you can go first.
I can't even say that there's that many feats in 5e. Like I've heard people say, there's too many feats now in 5e. They keep adding. I look at the list of 5e feats. I could read these in a couple minutes.
I don't think there's too many. I personally think they should keep adding more, because and they should just keep adding more and just kind of integrate it more into the system itself as a ASI or a feats, rather than if your DM is like, I don't like feats, here's...
I don't even know why someone would go, oh, I don't like feats, you can't have them only ASIs.
I've not really heard an argument against feats, but I do know DMs who don't like feats.
Why?
They're not feat guys.
Well, they made a mistake.
My big thing about feats is I have nothing against them. Honestly, I feel like I agree they don't have enough of them. Just something about, like, granted, like, there's certain ones that, like, I see them and I'm like, okay, yeah, I get this in its nature, and I understand why it's there and how it replaces an ASI. There are some that I'm like, these are neat. They do not replace an ASI at all.
Honestly, like, give me more stupid ones like actor and chef. For, like, if you're just a variant human and you want some fun flavoring, that could be really cool. But there would have to, I think, and I will say again, my opinion on having feats be an integral part of the system is from me being a Pathfinder player originally, where they are very important. They would have to rework a lot of things, I think, in 5e to match them in as a necessary rule.
What they'd have to do to make them part of the system is separate them to being ASI feats and free feats.
Yeah. That
you would get, like, oh, you're level 6, you get a free feat, and you pick from the free feat list. Because then you could pick, like, I don't know, a grappler.
Yeah.
Right? Grappler's not amazing, but it could really help, like, a build you're trying to do.
Yeah.
As opposed to, like, Drow High Magic or whatever.
Warcaster.
Gives you...
Yeah,
or Warcaster or Magic Initiate, where there's tangible benefits that are worth the ASI drop. Yeah.
No, I highly agree on this. It's like, it's one of the things is when they generalize them too much, and there's some that are published which are nowhere near balanced as others, and it's just like, wow, these are just never worth it to take.
Yeah, like
Hi, Tasha.
Not even Tasha's. There's some you have played with a character where Observant was incredibly broken. You have both of you have been in a game with that. That's a very powerful feat, and then you have Actor, which is borderline useless.
I mean, depends on how you use it. It can be good for the right character.
It's just hard to use.
It is.
And obviously the obvious one, when I can say useless, is Tasha's chef feat.
Yeah, absolutely.
It's absolute garbage. I would take it on a variant human for fun, to have, like, hey, I was a cook once, now I'm a fighter. I stab things. but that's just for flavoring. It would serve almost no benefit.
Yeah, you're replacing a benefit that could be, even if it's a situational benefit, it could be a benefit with something that's got no benefit. And I mean, that's like one of those things is like, it's a tough call. Like, I don't mind having situational or very role-playing favored things. It's just usually when there is even a little bit of something there, I like it a little better. Like, you know, I'll take this feat. It's neat. Is it super helpful? Probably not. Is it have some good flavor? Sure.
One of the biggest problems with 5e feats is it ends up falling into the trap of there's the feats that people always take, and then the ones never touch because again you're giving up an ASI.
Yeah.
Warcaster. Very few spellcasters don't take Warcaster. It's another one here.
Which one is Warcaster? Oh, Warcaster is...
Warcaster is advantage on concentration checks, and also you can have all your hands full.
Okay,
Even though
good on
within the rules, you can drop your sword as a free action, do whatever you want, and then pick it up as an object interaction.
I was gonna say, oh, that would be decent for clerics. And I remembered a cleric can have their holy symbol on their shield.
Yes.
Yeah.
Warcaster is like, this is neat. Until you realize if you dig into the rules a little bit, it's actually totally unnecessary and doesn't matter.
I could see it working on a battle artificer, being decent for that, but that's highly situational.
Yeah.
And I can put it on my artificer, personally.
I think resilient, is actually technically better. If you don't have proficiency in Constitution, you can get resilient, which gives you like a +1 to like one of your choice, and then proficiency with that. So let's say you have 15 Constitution. You take resilient, you get 16 con, and then you get proficiency in con saves.
Yep.
Yeah.
It's pretty good.
Like the Warcaster, like even if we're talking about that one, like yes, the somatic components, the part of that is not the great part. I mean, the advantage on the Constitution saves for concentration is pretty good.
That's the good one.
And even the attack of opportunity spell, I thought was kind of neat.
Yeah.
Like these are like things that are still pretty good in there.
Yeah.
You know, that you get a bunch of stuff like chef. You get proficiency in cooking, and I can make a meal that sometimes can be helpful to people.
Chef isn't terrible, but if you compare it to whatever the speaking one is, like what's it called?
The one that gives you languages or a different one?
It's inspirational speech or something. Inspiring leader.
Yeah.
Inspiring leader. You spend 10 minutes inspiring your companions, shoring up their resolve for a fight. When you do so, choose up to 6 friendly creatures, which can include yourself, within 30 feet of you, who can see or hear or understand you. Each creature gains a temporary hit point equal to your level plus charisma modifier. A creature can't gain temporary hit points from this feat until it finishes a long or short rest. Every time you do a short rest or a long rest, you can do this and give your party, especially if you're like a paladin or a bard or some kind of charisma character, you get your level plus charisma modifier as temp HP. That is probably better than chef in almost every single way. The only difference is chef allows you to carry it with you.
Yeah. And I do want to say there are obviously, I mean, even in Pathfinder, which has many feats,
so many bad feats.
There are tons of terribles, but there are also like the essential ones for each class. That's the thing in 5e. I've not met many wizards who skip spell sniper.
Yeah.
Spell sniper is good.
Yeah.
I think Pathfinder at 3.5, both of them suffer from a little bit of that bloat. Because when bloat happens, it is a lot of feats and abilities and stuff like that are much more situational, harder to give an excuse for using. Not impossible. I will tell you, I could probably pick out any Pathfinder first edition feat from the entire list, take a look at it, and be like, I could see a place for it. I could come up with a character that could use it. Would it be the best character? I don't know. It might be interesting.
You can do that with 5e, though. Like, we'll go back to the actor, for example. If you're in a dungeon crawling game, actor is 100% garbage. That's my phone. But if you're social game,
it's pretty good.
I feel like
spy game.
It comes down to what you trade off for the actor. You know, actor in a spy game, great. In a normal game, I'm saying like the characters I could place in any game. It doesn't have to be a situational game. It could be a power that's situational that they could use in any game. and they just are built around setting up that situation, maybe.
I mean, the big one with me, like Pathfinder, you get your ASIs and you get your feats. Where, like, the big problem with 5e is you have to choose most of the time. Do have one ASI, which is just good. Yeah. And, like, I think I don't remember if it was Lightning or Momo when you mentioned earlier, just separating it into these feats, take your ASI, these ones don't, would be good. But then you have to sit there and go, all right, well, which ones do take the ASI, which ones don't?
There's not a lot, I think, that would, but if they keep going at the rate they're going, they will eventually have enough to do a list like that.
Yeah.
Because things like, some of these, like you said, Warcaster.
I would say, like, what was it? What's the one that Rogue always takes? Mobile, or you can just fuck off. I'd say I think that would be like one that replaces an ASI personally, because that's very good.
Like,
same with Sentinel.
Yeah.
But things like Actor, Chef,
yeah,
even Inspiring
Dual
Leader, to be
Wielder,
honest, those ones shouldn't take your ASI. You should still get it.
Dual Wielder is not awful, but it's also not amazing.
So I've played a 2-weapon fighting character with Dual Wielder. It can get pretty strong depending on what weapon you pick, because it removes the requirement for the light property.
Yeah, that's fair.
I played one who had 2 long swords. I was very strong.
Okay.
And, you know, just a +1 AC isn't bad. Yeah. Like, Dual Wielder, in my opinion, is definitely one that should take your ASI.
Like,
I didn't realize it removed the light property.
Yeah,
it takes the light property off.
Comparing it a little bit to Pathfinder, I quickly looked up on the PSFRD feat, which is normally completely ignored because it tends, like, this is not the most situational feat, but it tends to be one of the lower, I call it power level. Acrobatic. You get +2 to acrobatics and fly. When you have 10 or more ranks in the skill, that increases to 4. Okay. Any of those skill-based ones are kind of lame.
Yeah.
Until you build a character that relies on that skill heavily. Once you start doing
Pathfinder
that,
lets you do that.
Yeah. And
you can do weird, crazy stuff with acrobatics and Pathfinder, which you don't really get in.
That's the thing is, it gives you the option of turning these junk feats into good feats for your character.
Yeah.
You know, any of them are like that. It just has to be built to your character, which I feel like things like giving back to Chef or Sentinel or Grappler, they're a lot more difficult to do that with the character, you know?
I'll be honest, like, give me some time. I could build a very functional rogue with Acrobat. I don't think I could build a super functional character around Actor.
I disagree.
I mean, me personally.
Fair.
I mean, like, you know...
that depends on the game.
Yeah.
Like, Actor is not going to help
heavily
you in combat.
dependent on the game.
Well, I mean, the thing is, most games don't take place entirely in combat.
Yes.
Like, hell, the game that we have going currently, granted, it's a little rougher because it's an untamed land, but there's still places where you could make use of Actor in your game, Lightning.
Yeah, probably.
I will put this out there. I'm playing a monk in that game. I took Healer as a feat. That's not the most useful. It lets me use healer's kits more efficiently on you people.
Yeah.
It makes it so healer kits actually restore life.
It's not the most useful, but I managed to build a pretty, in my opinion, good character around it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
it's possible with these feats to do so. I just think there's some that I would personally struggle with.
Well, I think it's the idea is a little different. Like, in the idea in Pathfinder is, if I'm making a build, I can find unusual feats that help that build. You know, if I'm making a build in 5th edition, I could maybe hedge in these feats with them.
Yeah,
maybe.
But you know
Biggest
that
difference.
Most of the time when you take them, you're losing the... Like, there's one I'm looking at right now, Alert. It gives you a +5 to initiative, can't be surprised when you're unconscious, other creatures can't gain advantage on attack rolls when you can't see them. That's good.
Put it on a rogue.
Is that losing an ASI good?
On a rogue, yes.
See, alert one is, I feel, is one that is a little better towards what the Pathfinder one is. It's not great all the time, but I could put it on a build. I gotta say this. Actor, okay, in a very political game, maybe I could put it on like a highly built, specialized, I know this game is going to be political, bard or rogue. Chef, I don't think I could put it on any fucking character that it would make sense, that it would be enhancing the character. It would just be there.
I could make a character with actor. Dox would be fucking great with actor, because while he can change his face, he still has to lie about who he is.
Yes, changelings are the best use for actor.
Yeah.
For a moment there, I forgot changelings existed.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I mean, again, like...
It's like, you can't mimic their speech, you just mimic their appearance. With actor, you can mimic the speech if you, like, observe them for, at least a minute.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think... to turn it around in a different direction and talk about Pathfinder 2nd Edition, because it also uses feats, but it expands on it much more. They both are better because it adds more of these categories. Like, 1st Edition Pathfinder, it has categories, sort of. It really has 2 categories and a bunch of specialized categories that depend on what you're building. Like, you're not going to be taking grit feats unless you have grit. You're not going to be taking critical feats unless you're working on some kind of critical mastery. You know, it's like this weird direction of like, well, yes, they're their own category, but they really could be like a subcategory in general feats or combat feats.
It's the difference between old way of feats and new way of feats.
Yeah.
Because the old way of feats, they were part of your character to help you twist it in the direction you wanted to play, and you still got a small bonus in your ability score ups. Instead of getting a +2, like what 5e does, you get a +1, so you get an overall +5. It's okay. Where in 5th edition, it's more about like, this is your character, this is your class, this is your subclass, this is your race, and you kind of all melt them all together to kind of have your concept. And then, oh hey, Raid!
Raiders, welcome Raiders.
And we were just talking about you. Derp. Okay, and the way feats are for 5e is they're kind of like half an ASI and half a feat. Yeah, we were talking about Numenera recently. That you were running a game because we were talking about. I closed all the tabs down. The Fragged Empire. Or
Fragged Empire.
Kind of had that feel of post-apocalypse, and rebuilding society. Though that one has space travel, I don't think Numenera had space travel technically. It exists, but I don't think you had access to it.
Yeah.
We were talking about that.
Also,
but
Fragged has cute, small, squishy green creatures, and
It's true, yeah.
Yeah, that automatically makes it better.
Feats are more supplementary, as opposed to optional choices. I think is the biggest difference.
Yeah, and I think it's one of the things that they made it like. It's the issue that I have a lot of times with 5th edition. If it boils down to it, any differences mechanically, or like, you know, role-playing wise, I could have 2 different rogues. Like, Marty. Marty is a scout rogue. Fairly simple. If I built another half-elf scout rogue, mechanically it would work exactly the same. I could have a completely different, you know, coat of paint on it, but it would not feel different in my dice rolls or my attack skills or my combat, anything like that. No. It would pretty much just be what I had. And I think
it's very, very small changes. Because, like, you could technically be a strength-based rogue. It's not as efficient because of the way rogue works. And then you could be a different race. I mean, it's very, very small differences between classes and subclasses.
But what I'm saying is, like, very much, like, I could build in Pathfinder, either 1st edition or 2nd edition, half-elf rogue with maybe, like, a basic idea of, like, a kind of scout type. Or, like, I guess in 1st edition it would be, like, I think there might be a scout...
there might be archetype for scout.
Archetype. The scout archetype. The feats I choose could completely change the character. I could use the feats to completely make 2 different characters that were completely two differently. They have that same basics there, but they would feel and work very differently on the same basic principles. It's that option it expands it so greatly. And like, I could cut down 90% of the Pathfinder feats, and I would still have a chunk there that would allow me to do that. Like, if you just use the core rulebook once, depending on what you choose in short, core rulebook can be vastly different in how you build your character.
Yeah.
I think that's, like, despite, like, I love 5e to, like, the very depths of my heart. I love 5e, but I think that is one thing that, the feats are the one thing that lets me down sometimes, is it does end up feeling samey because of that choice there. Either you get your ASI and you get perceptibly stronger, or you take a feat. And most of the feats is like, I want to take this. This is really cool. It fits the character. But I'm hampering myself in doing so.
Sacrificing a very important and good resource.
Yeah.
So,
ASI is very
here's
critical,
a concept.
I think, in 5e.
Now, this is 100% on the DM, but run a 5e game, and whenever you get an ASI, get both. Get a feat and your ASI. Now, you're going to be very, very strong, but the DM can just make more monsters appear, or use stronger CR monsters, or have environmental things, and make it so you have to think more. You will end up with pretty powerful characters, depending on if you min-max and take really amazing things, or if your players take things that are like, I want to have these feats because I think they'd fit really cool in this character concept. Maybe they're not the strongest for combat, but then you have a very unique character because you're. Well, I mean, I'd probably not have fighters get like 8 feats or whatever. I'd have them at every 4 levels they get a feat.
Yeah.
Or optional, you can trade your ASI for a feat. You would end up with some either incredibly broken characters.
Look, I gotta be honest. I'd pull a banner and I'd ask if I could just keep taking skilled until I'm skilled.
Eventually you run out.
No, I will be skilled in everything.
We eventually
You already are.
No, I still have a couple I'm not. There's some tools and items.
Marty's list of skills they are not proficient in is shorter than the list they are.
Yeah, like I need some more tools and more vehicles that I can be proficient in too. I can learn how to.
And J-Val definitely correct on some. That's what we were talking about. Some of them are just not worth trading the SI.
Nope.
I mean, in my game, I gave you guys both at first, or I gave you guys like an extra. Did I? Yeah, I gave you guys. Did I give you guys?
You gave us like extra feet, just like
I gave you guys extra feet.
Yeah. Cause, in my game, I'm giving an extra feat at first level. So if you were variant human, you could get 2. I don't care.
Yep.
And I'm also changing the HP rolling rules, where you roll for HP and you either take the number or you take your average if you rolled under it. So then the players are a little bit beefier.
And then and I'll use my Thursday 5e game as an example. We got a feat and an ASI for us. We were given both, and it made us pretty damn strong. But we're also like every encounter is incredibly deadly in that game.
That's the thing. Like the DM can always balance it out. Oh, you guys tore through this encounter? All right. Well, I'll make sure that the next one is harder.
Yeah, you guys tore through that Church of Undead real fast. Oh, well, the next one's gonna have more.
Yeah, and you can always just, increase the HP on your monsters, right? Oh, the zombie has 22. Well, now it has 50.
Yeah.
Yep.
These are empowered zombies now.
Yeah.
Like you just tore through this church. Somebody took notice. Went, oh shit. I need to make my creatures stronger, or they're just going to tear through them again.
Or they're on unhallowed ground, so they have advantage on all saving throws, and they regen 1 HP every round or something. Yeah. There's ways, because as the DM, you have 100% control of every other thing besides what the players are doing.
Mm-hmm.
Meanwhile, again, we've said, feats are fun.
Yeah.
But hamstringing your character isn't, and that is, as much as I love 5e, that's its biggest downside. It's just its list of feats isn't as big as Pathfinder. Personally, I love that. Pathfinder's list is too big, but so many of these I'll never touch, and it hurts because I want to take these. They're cool. They're neat. They add unique things to the character.
I think going into just a response to that, like the fun and neat. I think that's one of those things that I really do want to do, like a one shot or short campaign of Pathfinder 2nd Edition with people, because you got to feel the feats. Like it's like it is not just your basics, because you have ancestry, cool. Your racial things. You get to choose the racial options, like as you're building your character. The class ones, which are basically the archetype of class use. When it comes down to it, the skill feats, which like I have to say, like when I was leveling my character because we leveled up the last session, I actually had to sit down and look through the skill feats. There were a lot of them that I'm like, this would be really cool. It's not really my character. My character could take this, but it's not really my character. Like, you know, I could take like I qualify for like an acrobatics based one. Oh, that's kind of neat. But I also took like ones like I speak extra languages and like I fucking can hobnob with social interactive people. Look,
is there a feat to turn to a helicopter?
If there was, I would take it. Thank you very much. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's just.
Sorry, go ahead.
It's just interesting.
I'm just like reading the list of 5e feats, and I'm just spotting a few that I've broken games with before. Like Lucky, I've broken a game with Lucky.
Mm-hmm.
So mean.
Umber is it's a spicy
melty brain, melty brain.
Listen, I already had to cancel a freaking Sunday game because it's just like I just can't right now.
I'm sure we could handle. How many? Do we have 6?
We have 6. No. I think we have 5.
5.
Oh, perfect.
So
there we go. We found a 6.
I just want to say there are 6 in my game. It's hard to get everyone the time they need.
Oh yeah. 6.
I haven't had any time. I just fuck off and do my own thing.
There are like a couple. There are 2 big personalities in my game that just keep chattering.
6 is my top end. 6 is my top end. Period. I after beginning Carrying Crown, it gave me some chance, and like after like some of the stuff in there, I was like, I could probably handle 6 with the right team.
4 is easy. I think the reason why I wanted 4 for my game is because in case someone's not there, you can probably do it with 3 because I just scale the encounters differently, right? But with 5, I'm more comfortable with somebody being like, oh, well, I can't make it. Well, that's fine because I'm usually only kind of aiming for that like 4 players difficulty. Because I don't, let's just face it, combat can take a long time, and the more players you have, the longer combat takes.
Yeah.
So like we had skipping ahead slightly, we had a kobold encounter, and at night, if you read how fighting works and nighttime rules and stuff, it's kind of shitty for players. Because even moonlight, even if it was a full moon, technically by the rules that is still light concealment.
Yeah, I mean that there's a reason that rule 9% of the time gets flat out ignored.
Yeah, but there's a reason why you're being attacked at night. But we had it was 4 kobolds in 2 waves. There was the flying ones came and attacked, and they basically just rushed in there and tried to murder you guys, and they were like, oh, hang on, this isn't good. And then the little runny dudes came up, and then there was roleplay. But like the combat was for like half an hour, maybe.
I don't even know it was that long. We did kill them very quickly.
The flying ones obviously took longer.
Look, I will be honest. There's one thing from that game that I didn't mention afterwards because like whatever, it doesn't matter. The combat wasn't actually that long. What was long was the 40 minutes we spent before that trying to figure out how to set a tripwire. And I'm not joking. I sat there and timed it.
Right,
we spent 40 minutes before that combat even happened doing essentially nothing.
That happens though.
Well, not all of it was the tripwire. There was 10 minutes of where do the wagons go? There was 10 minutes of, oh wait, there's horses. Where do the horses and the wagons go? And then there's 20 minutes of where does this tripwire go? We really could have just condensed that down to be like, it really doesn't matter where the wagons are. They're here. The tripwire's here. We're done. Moving on.
I took that more as like our characters were taking a bit to plan it out. That's why I like looked at it. But obviously, you can condense that to like 10 minutes max.
We probably could have, because that was legitimately 40 minutes for all that, and I was losing my mind at one point. But it was like,
I loved it.
But the thing is, if you guys had the wagons in front, you could have used them as cover, and it would have forced the combat to engage a lot quicker, and not just like, haha, we can see you, and then pew pew pew, because they wouldn't have seen you because you guys were hiding.
We didn't even know if there would be combat that night, and if there was, we didn't know what direction it actually come from.
Yeah. But like the point I mean is, where the carts were mattered.
Yes, but was it 10 minutes of mattering? Which actually ended up being 20 minutes.
I mean, I personally still think we should have like triangled the cards.
Triangle the wagons.
That's defensively the one that makes the most sense and should have been picked.
We couldn't circle them, so we should have to triangle them.
Yeah.
Of course.
I mean, I think that's still called
There was
circling.
4 wagons. We couldn't have circled them.
There was 3.
You can triangle them.
3.
The triangle is, a very strong shape.
Yeah, it's very powerful.
That is
Better than
also
square.
actually correct as well.
If you had 5, you could have hexagoned them back.
Ooh, hexagons.
Bestagons, and they have 6 sides.
Yeah. But
Did you say bestagons and had 6
Yes,
sides?
hexagons are bestagons.
Oh, it's just like for a second my brain was like,
Clearly,
what?
there's a video I need to link you with.
Uh-huh.
God damn it. But yeah, I mean, yeah, that was the thing that happened.
Yeah.
So 6th person then confirmed.
Oh my god. I don't. Okay, listen. The game is in 2 hours. Can you make a character in 2 hours? I don't think so.
Make a kobold will capture you and adopt you.
Oh,
Sure,
no,
nothing
not
bad
more
will happen.
kobolds.
Nothing bad will happen. It's not like one got its throat slit while it was sleeping by someone.
And the other one had its
Heart
soul destroyed.
stopped immediately.
They're level
Drath's
3.
sitting here going for a mercy kill, fucking rolling. I'm going to lead your life force with
No,
necromantic energies and call it mercy.
It's actually just stopping their heart.
Yeah, I know you're busy.
But yeah, no, I think it's the same thing that I actually, part of me wants, I gotta be honest, one of the things that I want in 2nd edition Pathfinder when I'm looking at stuff is more feat options. They've got some great ones, but like, I'm always looking for something that was interesting because my character is unique and something that would fit in there. Just a little bit better for my super non-combat bard. I don't know. And I think it's what we need in 5th edition too. Yeah. We just need more options, and we'd like those options to be good, worth it, or something else. I don't know.
If 5th edition took the idea, and I think we should move on after this.
Yeah,
or
definitely.
Any last closing statements or whatever, right? I don't want to cut anybody off.
Yeah.
But if 5th edition took some of the weaker feats and either broke them in half, or like changed the how well they work, and made it where these are every 4 levels you get to pick from like this free feat thing, or like, I don't know, something, then you could actually have it where like, oh well, pick up an extra proficiency. You take this as a level 4 or level 5, and you get an extra proficiency. That's not amazing or anything. Or maybe I don't know, giving expertise is kind of strong. I don't know if I would tie that to a free feat. Yeah,
expertise is very strong.
Yeah, but like maybe you could have it like you could take 1 extra skill proficiency, because if you think about the non-skill horror race or classes combos, you get 4. You can get like 5 with a race, maybe 6 depending on how strong the race is. Like half elf, I think it's 2, and then you have like rogues and bards, which get a lot more. So if you're playing like a fighter human, or not human, or like half orc, no, half orc is intimidating. Gnome, fighter gnome, sure, why not? You have your 2 feats from your background, and there's not feats. 2 skill proficiencies from background, 2 from your class. That's not a lot. So having an extra like proficiency you get at like level 5 or level 4 for those classes is actually pretty helpful. It's not as helpful for like rogue and stuff, but like, I mean, they're already going to be skill monkeys anyway.
Yeah, adding one more, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah, so if they had things that were like really minor, think of like traits in Pathfinder, but they're really minor bonuses. I think that could help 5th edition.
Yeah,
it'd make the game a bit more crunchy.
Yeah.
Which, is kind of not the purpose and point of the game. But also, it's optional. You could just not play with that.
Yeah, single skill feats to get you one skill. You know,
could be cool.
you could do those because like you could take skilled in place of an ASI and give you like 3 because that is a lot. You know, and then you could have like for your non-ASI replacement thing where you can just get a couple of them, just one. So you could be like, you know, you're thinking about that, like, you know, oh, nature comes up a lot in our thing. You know, I got a pretty good intelligence. Maybe I should have proficiency in it.
Proficiency with a weapon. I think Weapon Master gives you like 3 or something.
Mm-hmm.
I think you can technically train for proficiency
but
with weapons now.
But if you don't have a lot of downtime to do that,
That's
so you need
true.
like 10 weeks minus your intelligence modifier plus money. You know, instead of like, oh, well, I don't want to spend all this downtime and money to learn this. For one of your free feats, you get like a free trade or whatever. You get, I'm proficient with this weapon now, like a longsword or a greatsword.
I think Weapon Master would be a perfect one for taking your ASI and it, because
Weapon Master
all it gives you is proficiency with 4 weapons. That doesn't really make you that stronger. Yeah, but that's what I mean. Like, up that to just getting your full ASI. So take 2 or 1. You know, take your normal ASI in place of that first bit. Yeah. The other part is just you get proficiency with 4 weapons. That's cool. Being able to be like, yeah, I can. There's a weapon there. I can use it. It doesn't really make you that much stronger to make it worth getting rid of an ASI or to hamstring you to being 1 of strength or dex.
It depends on a few things, like what class, what weapon. It depends on some things on how strong it's going to be or not.
It still just gives you versatility. It doesn't really up your power level, being like, oh, I could use this longsword, or I could use this, I don't know, fucking halberd. Like, it's versatility, not outright power.
I gotta agree on Umber because, like, I'm sorry, there's not a lot of builds where I can imagine a few, but they're very hard builds to make where it would make a difference. Like, I'm a wizard with a great sword! Yeah. Okay, what's your strength? Not a lot!
The biggest example. +1. Compare getting your ASI, where you could just be like, take fucking whatever, versus just having proficiency in 4 weapons. What are you going to choose 90% of the time?
You're going to choose the strongest weapons because you have 4.
Yeah, if I was going to take the weapons, I would take 4, but I'd probably prefer the ASI personally for most of my characters. It would probably be better.
And also, Weapon Master doesn't help martial classes at all.
No.
Because you're proficient with everything already.
It's like...
Because that's the other part. Weapon Master, they have to be 4 weapons that are simple or martial. So, like you said, martial classes already have that.
Yep.
Yeah.
Why are they going to take it?
So Weapon Master is like for rogues or monks, maybe cleric if you don't get martial from one of your domains. Weapon Master is really
you might be able to be like, actually, I don't remember if it was changed for or not, but Hexblade might be able to use it.
Hexblade doesn't matter, because if it's your hex weapon, you're proficient.
Right, yeah.
And you can also just take, like, any weapon as long as it's not two-handed and put it
so who is going to take this then?
And,
I guess the cleric. The cleric's the only one I could see, maybe. That's it.
I mean, a cleric I'm going to play probably won't, because I tend to play battle clerics.
Yeah. With the cleric, it depends on your domain. Because some of the domains give you martial, some of them give you heavy weapons, some give you both.
I mean, you made a point there where maybe a rogue would take it, but if they do, they're going to take it in combination with, I don't remember what the one we meant, the dual-wielding one, so that they could use, you know, other weapons with their dual-wielding that are one-handed, but now you're losing 2 ASIs.
And then you're being a strength-based rogue, which strength-based rogues can work, they just don't work well.
But you can also take Dex with Weapon Master. It's strength or Dex.
Yes, but what we're saying, like, is if you're choosing weapons, rogue is already proficient in all the ones that really use Dex. That's the thing, is they already have all those.
The only way to make the Weapon Master really useful for the rogue is to also take the dual-wielding one, and at that point you're making a strength rogue, and at that point, like, it's so much of an investment, and you're losing 2 ASIs.
Yeah, I agree. I agree now.
That's too much of a strength loss to make this unique thing work. It'd be great for Pathfinder, because Pathfinder, you still get your power and you make this unique build. But in 5e, you just lost a lot of strength to make a unique build work.
Just one level dip into fighter,
Yeah,
you
and then
get
you-
more out of it than a feat.
Yeah, you just accomplish the same thing.
Yeah. Granted,
Yeah,
like, one level dip into fighter. That's one of the other things that this is something that I've complained about 5th edition. They don't tie certain things to your class level. They tie it to your class because it makes it that multi-classing sucks so much more.
Yeah.
I do not
kind
like
of
that.
know why they do that, though.
Oh, I
It's a
know why they do
balancing
it.
thing.
It is a balancing thing, and I know why they do it. It's still, like, every time it makes me like, I don't want to multi-class because it
I mean,
it hampers
The
me.
thing is, like, you can still make some very strong multi-class builds in 5e.
Oh, sure.
It's just you're also relying on the game going to later levels.
Yep.
Because if it's a shorter game, if it ends at like 7, 9, well, your multi-class really doesn't fucking matter anymore. You
Nope.
hampered yourself.
Most games end somewhere between 10 and 15 is what I've
Yep.
heard and read. And I will also say, what was I say? Right. The one thing I will say on all this is my general opinion of 5e genuinely needs more choices that you can make
Yeah.
because
And
it severely lacks that.
a big one of that would be addressing the whole feat
Yep.
ASI thing.
Yep.
Going from Pathfinder way back when I actually played Pathfinder in more than one game to 5e, I was like, wow, it's a little generic.
Yeah, it's like
That-
that way on purpose, though, so I
that-
can't hate it for that.
Yeah. That said, I still prefer 5e. I still think that a
That's
lot
fair.
of the changes
No,
they
that's
made were
completely
good. And it's brought so
Yeah.
bloody many people into the game in the past couple years.
It's one of those honest things. Is like, depending on the group, I would certainly choose. Like, I think for me, I don't know if I have a preference. I think what it means is the group I'm playing with. Like, if it's got a lot of people that I'm less familiar with, or a lot of people that I know are newer players, I would prefer 5e. If I know it's a lot of experienced people that have a lot of, like, maybe role-playing experience, and I know how they kind of play, I think I would prefer Pathfinder because I know that they could deal with the options and stuff with it and build into it.
Even if most of their experience is RP, I'd still start them on 5e personally.
Well,
Because
again,
5e is just easier to get into, and then after that, they could branch off to Pathfinder. Because Pathfinder, like 5e, still gives you the ability to have good RP easily. It only doesn't if you hamper it yourself, but it also doesn't overwhelm you with options on the mechanic side. Whereas Pathfinder, to this day, I am still fucking overwhelmed.
They fixed that. I've heard, like, at least from the way Tantha says it, that's kind of a bit fixed in 2e.
yeah.
I hope so. Because God, Carrying Crown breaks my brain every time.
The effective way to look at it in 2e is they section off a lot of stuff. Like, if I'm looking at an ancestry feat, I check my ancestry. That's it. If I'm looking at a skill feat, the thing about skill feats is they have the entire list, which can be overwhelming, but then you look at, like, oh, what do I have proficiency in? Because most of the skill feats require you have a basic proficiency in that skill.
Which is good. That
So
makes
then
it a
it's
lot
like,
easier
oh, it's
to
like,
filter
so it's
them
like
out.
I can go and look through. Oh, let's check acrobatics. Are these any of these acrobatic feats? What level? And like low level ones, you can only take those if you're trained. You need like expert, master, or legendary in some of them to take the higher level feats. So that's why, like, when I'm looking through these, I'm like, well, I've kind of seen these before. Are there any ones I want to choose now? Do I qualify for any new ones? A couple. You know, do they put out any more ones? And that's one of the things is like I want more skill feats because I want to have like more weird
More
diplomacy
choice.
powers
Yeah.
that are
want my weird
probably useful.
Get actor.
I already have it that I can like what was it? I think I took that now. Not only can I gather information like in the course of an hour rather than like 1d4 hours, I can do it without anybody knowing what I'm actually gathering information on. So now I'm the
Such
ultimate
a
like
Epic build. I love it.
so I'm like the
Who's this
secret
guy?
gathering.
Or-
No, this is my second 2e character. My
okay.
Pathfinder
The
2e.
lizard?
My lizard, yeah. So he's the bard and like the face of the group. And I can
Yeah.
also use my perform check in place of diplomacy to put a good impression. So I'm just going like,
Just pull out your banjo. Howdy.
I don't have a banjo. I have drums, thank you.
Tantha's character is more advanced than Banjo.
Yeah.
We should talk about tabletop stuff.
We should talk about
We're
tabletop
getting-
stuff because we've gotten to that time and
Yep.
we're kind of late.
Yep.
Games, last week we did talk briefly about your game, Lightning, where we fought kobolds and went on a
Yep.
nice expedition. and then had an existential argument about the genocide or possible non-genocide of kobolds.
Yeah, and how they're probably just regular creatures. Oh wait, no, they're evil or something.
They're evil and bring eviler stuff to the world, and therefore
something I will not stand for. This
is
whole
not saying that
ethical
kobolds in
propaganda.
general in every setting are evil. Just in this particular setting, they're following the will of the dragons, and the dragons are not that great.
and they had a
A certain
great
character
war
of
or
a
something.
certain race, because of a certain background, really doesn't like them.
Mhm.
And
It's
then
kind
was
of
being
setting
questioned by the youngling, upstart, naive half-elf.
Yeah.
It's kind of a setting-specific scenario that happened because of the way that I have done my world. But it was still interesting.
I'm not gonna lie, it's kind of like with the kobold stuff coming up, it's a bit rough for me to play out because like I like kobolds. Kobolds are cool. And then I'm sitting here having to try and play Dranthir like, oh
This
shit.
is what
he
you
doesn't
caused.
like.
This is what you've done.
I
These
will.
are your worst replacements.
I will always love kobolds just because of my one friend who played a kobold named Crowley. Crowley was known for a few things. One, he wore a fez.
Hell yeah.
He didn't start with the fez. They found it while they were exploring, and he decided to wear it.
It's a good lad like that.
He was a warlock, and
Oh.
the other thing is, when they fell into a pile of trash, like down like a trash chute, he was strumming around, and I'm like, and he was rolling a dice, and I'm like, what are you rolling? I'm rolling a will save, and it's like, why are you rolling a will save? Well, I found a rotting apple covered in poop.
Oh no.
And then he's like, what? You were gonna eat that? He's like, well, poop's like my radishes. If you're eating a salad, they have radishes in them. You just have to be like, kind of like, go live with it.
Oh my god.
I was
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I was like, you have won this day, Crowley. You have won this day.
And the players may or may not have reminded me that someone controls all these minions of kobolds, and I had to go make a creature stat block for that kind of leader.
Uh-huh.
And I hope you enjoy being murdered by them when
Yeah.
they show up.
Well, for me, I had a game on Sunday, which we had a shipwreck the previous week, and we were attacked by carrion crawlers.
So you're gonna say carrying crown.
And
for a
then-
second.
and
then
God
horrible-
damn it, carrying
And then
crown.
horrible twig monsters when we tried to make a camp. Because apparently that was the one creature we weren't looking for when we made a campsite. Horrible twig monsters.
Why?
Why wouldn't you look for those
Because
specifically?
they look like bushes. Yep.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
So burn everything before you make a camp.
Yep.
Apparently.
Mhm.
From the
Uh,
forest, though.
I also am like 3rd level and have no, are we 4th level now? I don't have a bajillion hit points because
You're an elephant.
I'm an elephant, and I think we rolled and either took roll or average. And for my constitution of 18, cough cough, and let's see here, I rolled a 8, got 8 maximum, and just rolled a 6. So yep, oh yeah, there you go. I have 34 hit points at 3rd level as an 18 AC.
That's a lot of hit points.
As the cleric. I'm tank
I have
cleric.
a totally normal rogue with 20 hit points.
Yeah, the normalist rogue.
Yeah. I think I have the second highest in the party,
Mhm.
behind the barbarian with
Yep.
maximum con.
Yep.
Then on
That's not till
Monday
later.
was records, in which you had a nice wedding, and which was 12 hours long, and someone was assassinated during it, and
Just a casual
and some
assassination.
things happened at the end where I have to do some stuff about when I release it on YouTube, and I have to figure out how I'm going to do that. I still have to like chat with people while I'm editing it, I feel like, at this point in time, because
You know,
I'm not good at preparing
I
title
can-
cards that describe this, like what
I can
warnings would be.
try to help you out.
Yeah, I need to figure out what to put on a warning card or something, because I
honestly,
don't know.
here's the,
Is it just
we'll
like
talk about it
you
a
say
little
like it was a little for summary's sake, if you would watch it, there's like it would be called trigger warning or something, you know, like
kind of.
content warning would be the more
content warning.
appropriate.
Content warning.
Yeah.
Because I know how to flag it in YouTube's algorithm because they have the self checks, and there's like one thing that's like shocking content. And it's not like it's talking about shocking content. It's not showing anything, so it's the one that still gets monetized because everything I do for role-playing game can still be monetized. I just have to say that there's that shocking content there, and I probably want to give warnings about what kind of shocking content it is.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That happened.
Yeah, it happened. I don't think we play Vampire
That's
on
where we'll
Tuesday?
leave that.
Yeah, I don't think you had vampired.
We did not have
No,
Vampire.
because you were down like 2 people.
We're down like 2
We
people.
Didn't have Carrion Crown.
We didn't really
We
have
didn't
Cannon Crown.
either.
Nope. I did have Star Trek.
I
which-
had my Wednesday game.
You describe your Wednesday game, and I'll give Star Trek then.
Yeah. So in the Wednesday game, we're at this cultist compound who are just a bunch of they're awful people. They're just really awful people, and they're like brainwashed basically. But an actual angel is there, who's one of a type of evil angel. I think they're actually from Magic the Gathering.
Oh, fun.
Yeah. Which is a Thursday game for Tantus.
It is.
And they're I think they are an angel, but they're actually like an evil angel. And no, not the song. And they get power by offering deals to people, and then basically like they fall under them and they take the souls or something. They're not a good person. They think they're a good person, but they're not. And so we found out where she lives in this weird cave that she possibly made with magic. And while we were outside talking about what to do, she just wandered out and said, "Hey, what are you doing? Why don't you just come inside?" So I'm playing an Eldritch Knight. So I cast Protection from Good versus Evil and then summoned up my weapon as a bonus action. And that's where we're going to start next week.
Yeah, in Star Trek, we dealt with a changeling. That was pleasant.
Right.
They were really a dick too. I gotta say that. Like, I was trying to give like a good argument of like, your war is over. I was not involved with this. Do you want to try to negotiate or something? And she's like, you would make a good experiment for creating new super soldiers. And I'm like, you're a dick. I don't really care about you anymore. I wasn't involved in this shit. The person next to me, everybody around us, they were involved in it. My species was not. You want to try to drag me into it, up yours. And the changeling manages to mostly, in quotation, get away at this point in time, only because our DM used all of his threat, pretty much, to keep it from being just like captured.
Pulled out all the DM cards that technically are legal play in that game.
Yep.
To make it so it didn't just absolutely die when the hyper specialized murder machine shot it.
Oh.
AKA Mad.
Yes. Well, Mad's also rolled like really well.
Oh, it was such a ridiculous thing. It's like, oh, it has the thing to make it so you have to reroll, and the reroll was significantly worse.
Yeah. Oh, that was so great. But that was pretty much the entire session there. And I think Thursday we had Children of Wrath, where they resolved Carrie being all demony. She met her mother in her own mind, and everybody showed up. Yeah. Claude showed up because he used his helm of telepathy to try to dive into her mind and deep dive into it. Not a great idea. And then the psychic kraken wizard showed up to also help out.
Who also turned into a sexy lady because Carrie.
Sexy something rather. She's like, should I check what kind of materials I have on my lower end? And since Karen's like, no, don't lift your pants. The question of, was Lifter Cardinal Kink a male, female, or something else at that point in time? At least had boobs.
Friday!
Yes.
Yeah, Friday happened. That was a fun time. I had to introduce another party member. My 6th player, Jess, has made her return to tabletop finally. And she got introduced in a big, what I can only describe as a huge fucking mob of undead breaking into a ruined church. Some civilians were taking cover, and the party swooped in and quote unquote heroically. And by heroically, I mean the 2 elves continued to do everything.
True.
And saved the day. And then Moshi, Jess's half-orc barbarian, joined the party begrudgingly because there's a bugbear bard who is a character.
There is something.
There is something. So they began their journey into the depths of a reflavored Harrowstone that I've changed a lot out of. And then they fought that poltergeist that gave all of us trouble in Carrion Crown, but
I
turns
have
out
very fire.
much easier in 5e to deal with.
It's like the Hot Springs adventure, except for with fairy fire this time.
Yeah. They originally, of course, I'm following the very basic outline of Carrion Crown. So they originally went there to avenge someone, but they have learned that instead of killing people, the undead are dragging people to these ruins for something.
Yeah, and only like 2 people in the party actually care.
Yeah, only 2 people wanted to go. The rest like, yeah, we could just sleep for 7 hours, for like 8 hours and get our spell slots back that we wasted.
We had 1 combat, and I used all of my spells because I wanted to look cool. All right, we're not going to sit around and wait for 8 hours because the spellcaster decided to waste all of their leveled spells in 1 battle.
Yep.
Sorry.
Yeah, that was my session. They encountered they fought their first ghoul, which was fun.
You did a pretty good job.
It is good you focused on that ghoul because the thing would have fucked you up.
I mostly just hit things I had advantage on, or rather sneak attacks on.
The way of playing a rogue.
Yeah. So I'm playing a normal rogue. Nothing weird at all about my character.
Totally a normal rogue.
And I'm not technically good, and I'm basically one of the goodest people in the group.
Also, I found a token that apparently looked like Sean Bean, so the running joke was they had to protect Sean Bean from dying.
Who almost died, actually. I think he was down to 1 hit point in one of the attacks.
Yeah, that skeleton almost killed him outright. It just like dropped him down and would just start beating on him.
Yeah. I'm glad I didn't have to use any of my totally normal spells that, of course, I have because they're just racial and rogue. Rogue spells.
Yeah. There's nothing weird about you.
Nothing weird.
Rogues definitely get spells at level 2.
Yes.
Also, Lindsay's character drank the dreams of an old man.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that was also a thing that happened.
My hopes and dreams. They were delicious.
Oh.
Yeah, he woke up with like a hangover and had no dreams. So basically, he went to bed and then woke up and like, I feel like awful. He's like a 60-year-old man or something.
Yeah, he's a 60-year-old man, not with Eldritch Blast, with Magic Blast.
Yeah, and is it named after his character?
Yeah, it is.
I can't remember the name of the character now.
Winfred's Magic Blast.
Yeah, that's what it was. Instead of Eldritch Blast, it's Winfred's Magic Blast. It was amazing. Now I have done reflavoring of spells to not spoil them when I click them. So I'm excited to see more of that when that comes up.
Hell yeah. That was my game.
Sounds like we had a very fun week of games.
Yeah.
Pretty good one.
Mine was. We already talked about it because like not much happened. There was an argument and kobolds.
Argument and kobolds, yeah. I mean, it was kobolds and
traveling.
argument. Well, now we're gonna go rescue a village that either is getting attacked by kobolds or we're being attacked by kobolds, and therefore we want to run to the village and get help. Either or, it involves us going to a village and less kobolds.
And perhaps along the way we will learn to communicate better to solve all of our problems.
No. Just like my rogue that just wanders off when they're tired of the party arguing. They will never communicate in that game.
Nope.
We should really go and try and save these humans. But what if we just wander off for like almost an hour finding a couple random things that might be useful?
But
I roll stealth. I go into the building.
Rogue is the most useful character.
So, I do think we should get going, though, because we have about an hour and a half before that, and I want to go get some things done. I've got adventures.
I ate while we were streaming.
I did eat too, but I probably want to get together more food because I started eating when we were streaming, and it will be during that time when I'll be eating dinner that we will be streaming, so I probably want to get something together for then. You know?
Yeah, I will probably totally not spend the time between now and game playing an MMO.
You will probably be doing that.
That's like half an hour of MMO.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It'll take me so long to get in there.
That's true.
Peak hours right now.
It is peak hours. Anyway. The normal segmenty stuff, end of show things. Insert here.
Yeah, mostly just you.
Whoop.
Yeah.
Anyway, Check out these people where you can find them either on my channel or on the various things. For myself, you can find me here most days. I might be streaming something tomorrow during the day, depending on I've got a couple things to get done. I'll see. And then Monday 2 p.m. for Records of Evil, Tuesday at 2 p.m. for Legacies of Kain, Thursday at 8 p.m. in the evening for Children of Wrath. This show every 2 p.m. on Saturdays, and that's the schedule for now. So check that out. Yay. And probably, I'll probably finish up Stardew Valley one of these times. I also want to do Stellaris Nemesis now that it's out. I do want to do like a run through of that. I don't know if I'll do that.
I also own that.
Yes. I may buy it, or / can be persuaded to play it in a multiplayer game.
Maybe I should do that. Maybe I should just like have like a little bit of a multiplayer game testing all that stuff out, because I don't know how any of it works now that they've added in. But I have to make sure I'm relatively nice in a multiplayer game, because I'm too aggressive. I don't know
Stop murdering everybody, or I'll kill you.
You're so murderous. Look,
my slug people will just destroy you.
I don't murder them, they're jerks to me. Or it's those people that like were jerks to me, and then they suicided for whatever reason, and I got all their space, and all of a sudden I was a super empire because they died next to me.
And no one expanded next to you for some reason. Don't worry, I'll just put it on maximum difficulty setting. And then Candace will be like, oh god, no, why? And I'll be like, I'm just a peaceful pacifist. Everyone loves me over here.
I will be my slug Democratic Crusaders again.
Oh no.
You will have democracy whether you like it or not.
Man.
So you're playing Slug America?
Slug America.
We will teach them our peaceful ways by force.
Yes.
Okay. Anyway, on that note, thanks everyone who joined us today. I hope you have a great rest of your Saturday. Stay safe, stay healthy, stay sane. Great rest of your weekend if you don't join me or anybody else for anything else. And hopefully you can be here next week for more Discussing Tabletop, where I'll probably have either some more of these guest hosts to join me on this adventure. So thanks again, Umber, Momo, and Lightning for joining me. So until the next time, farewell everybody.
Bye.
See ya.